Ho ho ho! Merry Christmas! Merry Christmas, everybody. That wasn't even my best Santa Claus. I feel like I can do a better
No, yeah.
Ho ho! Merry Christmas, little boy. How are you? That's kind of scary.
Isn't Santa Norwegian though?
They're different countries have different versions of him.
Oh, okay.
Like I guess I found this out recently. So I always thought Father Christmas was Santa Claus, and that's not actually true.
Really?
Yeah, so he was created separately. He was a separate character.
Father Christmas?
Yeah. And then he was made in Europe. Like, I think it was England had the idea of Father Christmas. And it was only later that they merged it kind of with Santa Claus. Like, now we know it today as like, oh, that's interchangeable with Santa Claus. But at the time, that was a separate thing that was created. So it seems like lots of people have similar styles, I guess.
Similar styles.
I see your name is Krampus today.
Yeah, man. I was digging it, you know. I was like, let me get off because of our holiday. This is our holiday special, you know?
Yeah, so I don't feel very Christmassy today. I feel terrible because you dressed up with you got the elf hat going on, and you have your Gamecocks sweatshirt, which is legit. I love
got
it.
A little snow on it.
I need some more Christmas stuff. I looked in my closet. I don't have anything Christmassy. I have that hat that I told you about that is in my car that like lights up, but that's about it. And I'm a big Christmas guy, but I am drinking a eggnog latte, so I feel at least a little seasonal.
Oh,
so.
Is this when we get into the sponsored part of the video?
No.
Sponsored by
I
nobody.
I would do local sponsors if they were like, "Hey, do you want to promote our drink?" I'm like, "Sure." Like 6 people will be interested. I feel like I'm dogging our live stream. I'm not, I promise. Anyways, I hope everybody's doing good. Merry Christmas. Welcome to Just Visiting. By the way, if you are new, haven't done our intro in a while, but this is just a live stream podcast that my friend Jonathan and I do called Just Visiting. And the reason it's called that is because we generally cover lots of different topics. Entertainment, gaming, the politics, the news, all different kinds of stuff, just anything that has to do with culture. And we go from topic to topic because we're just visiting usually. So, but that's not what we're here to talk about today. We're actually here to talk about, and pretty much only, the new Spider-Man movie that came out. Spider-Man No Way Home, and then we're going to talk a little bit about the Hawkeye, what our expectations for the Hawkeye finale. But Jonathan's finally caught up with Hawkeye, which is great, and I'm very excited to talk about that. Lots of spoilers, lots of Daredevil tidbits going on, which we both love Daredevil,
yes,
so we're excited.
Spoilers
about
for
that.
Everything, guys. Okay, the spoilers for No Way Home, spoilers for every Spider-Man movie that's ever existed. Okay, spoilers for Daredevil, obviously. Spoilers for Hawkeye. Okay.
Yes.
Why would you watch a review if you haven't seen the movie yet? I still don't get that. But we gotta say it.
I don't know. I mean, it's tough to get tickets. It was, anyways. Certain areas, Oklahoma, though, surprisingly, I found tickets fairly easy, like a week after. So
we actually got them day of.
Yeah, that's insane. Did you have decent seats too?
Nah. Oh, it depends on what you classify as decent seats. Because my wife, she loves sitting like the way back. Well, I'm more like I'm more like I like to be in the middle of the action, like right in the middle seats. But we were like way back, like the farthest back you could get, and then like all the way to the corner. So I still saw the movie. Like it wasn't like I didn't see it, but we were like pretty far back.
Yeah, I bought our tickets like I think a week ahead of time, and we got decent seats at that time. It was kind of hard to find some. Like there was the front row in most showings that was available, but we actually got like the middle left, like at the end of the aisle, so it was perfect. But real quick shout out, whenever we get a comment, we like to post it up here. So shout out to Jordan. He said he would buy
the boys.
So we appreciate that. I don't know what we'd call it because Just Visiting Eggnog doesn't sound very good. And I don't know. My last name is not very good for an eggnog. Like, I don't know. It's German, so it's not very great. But I don't know. We'll think of a name or something. Anyways, well, before we start, we wanted to do something a little seasonal, something kind of Christmassy. Just real quick, because we know that the movie and Hawkeye are probably going to take off take up most of the stream. We're going to be a little bit shorter today. Try to be. Generally, guys, this is about 2.5 hours is what we do.
Yeah.
But we're trying to keep it around an hour and a half today because I got some stuff to do. But then we also, if you go to our YouTube channel, just visiting WJE, you can find us there. And Jonathan usually posts some little short videos. So that way, if you don't feel like watching the whole thing or listening to the whole thing, you can always go there and find a clip of one of our shows. So, but anyways, before we get started, we wanted to talk about, I asked Jonathan, I said, hey, let's just talk about like 3 movies, TV shows, 3 things around Christmas that we have to watch that are kind of related to Christmas. So, Jonathan, do you want to give me your first one?
Yes, Santa Claus.
Just the Santa Claus?
The Santa Claus with Tim Allen, the first one.
The first one. Why is that?
Yes.
Why do you enjoy that one so much?
I don't know. It to me it perfectly encapsulates Christmas. It has the Christmas spirit.
Mm-hmm.
I love the relationship between Tim Allen and the little kid, and him figuring out what Santa has to go through. It's all just like a sweet taste in your mouth when you watch the movie. You know, you don't feel like I hate Christmas now, or I want to, kill Santa. It's like, oh, this is so cool. Like Santa Claus isn't just one person. It kind of enlarges the mythos of Santa Claus as well. Makes it make more sense too.
I did like that. Was such an interesting thing when that happened, of like, who is the next Santa Claus?
Yeah.
He's not just like an eternal being, like he dies and there's somebody else who fills his shoes and he literally becomes Santa Claus. But I actually have to agree with you. That was one of my top ones, so I'll pick a different one. But I love the Santa Claus. My wife and I watch it every year. And if you ever watched Home Improvement, like the Tim Allen show, if you like Tim Allen's humor, like, because if you watch him later, in his later movies, like if you watch him like in the 2000s, he's not really as funny or as Tim Allen as he used to be. Like in the 90s and late 80s is when he was kind of really popular. So that movie is like, he's super sarcastic. He's got a really smart mouth on him. And he's hilarious. So I find that really funny. The sequels were okay. I like the second one better than the third one, but I prefer the first one too.
Everyone knows how trilogies go. Except for this week's trilogy.
Oh, wait, Spider-Man?
Yeah.
Is that what we're talking about? Oh, okay, yeah. Spider-Man. I was a little confused. What I like to watch around Christmas, my first one, I was going to say Santa Claus as well, but this was one that I wanted to say anyway. So I have to watch, I don't know what it is, but I think it's my childhood probably. I have to watch all those like old claymation cartoons.
Really?
Like, I have to watch those, man. Like talking about Jack Frost. I don't know if anybody's ever seen Jack Frost. Like that's actually like a really kind of emotional like story. Like even though it's a kid's cartoon, the ending's really sad. Have you ever seen it?
Yeah, I've seen Jack Frost.
Yeah, it's sad, man. I like that one a lot. Santa Claus is Coming to Town with Mickey Rooney, and then all of the ones that are connected to that. So it's hard to watch all of them, but if I can, I try to. There was also this one that I used to like called Nestor the Long-Eared Donkey. Did you ever hear that one?
No.
So don't make fun of me, man. So it's literally about this donkey who has really long ears and he trips over them. And he ends up becoming the donkey that carries Mary to the nativity scene. So like it's like he's like, I don't have a purpose. I like, everyone makes fun of me, and the guy, the stable guy, is like super mean to him too. He's like, you stupid burro, and he like hits him and stuff. And
does he become Rudolph?
No, he doesn't become. He's a donkey. No, he's a donkey.
I have to ask the questions here, man. Okay.
No.
Really weird Christmas movies.
And then his mom dies at the beginning. She dies in a snowstorm, because she used her body to warm him, and he wakes up and she's dead.
Oh my god!
And I know, bro. And
that's the kind of things that make Christmas sad. Okay, I don't want us sad at Christmas.
Well, and he's like, "Mama, you died," and then but then he gets sold to Joseph and Mary, and he becomes that's the cool thing is he becomes the donkey becomes the donkey at the nativity scene.
His mother. Okay.
Yeah, which is great. It's a cool like thing. But I used to like that one. Frosty the Snowman, Happy Birthday. I love that. I love all the like all those cartoons. So I have to watch those every year. They're short too, so I can get through them really quick. Also, Jordan, I've never heard of The Adventures of Santa Claus, so I don't know what The Adventures of Santa Claus is. I'm sorry, but anyways, I love watching those every year. And guys, if you have, we'll be happy to shout it out on the live stream. If you comment below, let us know what you like watching around Christmas time. Jonathan, what's your second one, real quick?
Second one. Home Alone. Home Alone.
Home Alone.
Yeah.
Home Alone? Never heard of that. What?
What?
I'm just kidding. No, I've heard of it. We watched it this year.
I was about to say, what?
No, the classic Home Alone. Yeah, that's a great one. That's a great one. What do you like? What do you enjoy about Home Alone? Why is that on your list of you have to watch it every year?
Yeah, because it's the wacky Christmas. It's the wacky Christmas for me. I think those are probably my favorite kind of Christmas. I don't like sad Christmases. I don't like horror Christmases. I don't like over action Christmas. Like my friend's name here. But I like the wacky Christmases. And there's a little bit of Santa in that movie, so I like that too. So yeah, Home Alone is a great one. If you haven't seen it, guys, you got to see it. The other ones are kind of okay. They're not really up to the.
I don't know how you haven't seen Home Alone. You know what I mean? Like it's like the Christmas movie to watch.
Some people differ. Some people say Charlie Brown. All right, was that going to be your next one?
Yeah, Charlie Brown. I'm okay. On the inside, I feel like I'm like 70. Gotta watch Charlie Brown.
But some people would say the Nutcracker. Some people say the Nutcracker, or some people would say what's the other? Grinch. The Grinch Who Stole Christmas.
Oh,
I've heard some people say Elf.
Elf is good too. You know, I didn't even think about any of those, but those are also movies that I end up watching every year. Like you kind of have to. Elf has become a modern classic. I don't know anybody who would say. I mean, I do. I'm sure there's some people who don't like. If you don't like Will Ferrell, you may not like Elf.
Yeah.
But most people love that movie because it's such a unique story. But I would agree with you, Home Alone. My wife and I already watched that. That was probably one I was going to say too. It looks like we agree on those.
Just agreeing. That shit. We should change our channel name. Just agreeing.
Just agreeing. One we watched this year. That I don't know. This is a deep cut. If anybody knows about it, it's called Ernest Saves Christmas. We watched that this year. My wife, I don't think had ever seen it. Have you ever heard of Ernest Saves Christmas?
No.
It's, to be honest, Ernest is like a Midwestern character. Like he's very popular in like people who live in like Ohio and Michigan and Oklahoma. Like I don't know why, but I don't know a lot of people from the East or West Coast who are like, I love Ernest, like because it's a guy named Jim Varney, and it was a character he played, and he was just very goofy and silly, and he could do impressions and voices, and he would dress up as this. He'd always wear the same clothes, and he'd dress up as this guy, and he was just somebody who got into. He was a clumsy guy, so he would always get himself into trouble. But that one's pretty good, and basically it actually has a similar take to the Santa Claus, where Santa Claus comes and meets him, and Santa Claus is trying to find his heir. So he's trying to find the guy who's going to take over as Santa Claus. It also adds to the mythos a little bit, but it's funny if you've ever seen it. But anyways, one more, Jonathan, and then I'll do my last one, and we'll move on.
My last one's not a movie.
That's okay. But I said the cartoons, so
it's a book. It's called Jotham's Journey.
Jotham's Journey. I've never heard of
it's
that.
About this little kid who journeys through Palestine, I think, and throughout his journey, he like runs into a bunch of different characters to teach them lessons and stuff like that. And I think it ends with him going to the manger to see Jesus.
Oh,
yeah,
that's cool.
It's some. I think some way he plays a part in that. So, but it's a story supposed to teach you a lesson about like what Christmas is really about. It's not about the presents. It's not about whatever. It's about Jesus. It's about the dab.
Yeah, let's go. Yeah. Jesus.
My mom would read that to us every Christmas when I was a little kid. So that was one of my favorite things.
That's cool. That's cool. Well, that's neat. That's a nice. I can understand why you want to see it then. Well, the last one I'll pick. There's so many others that I have to watch, but one that I do have to watch every year. Also, I'm not even thinking of the Christmas Carol. Shout out to the Muppets Christmas Carol, which is one of the best versions of the Christmas Carol. Also, the Mickey Mouse Christmas Carol is also really good. The ending of that is very spooky. Like I thought Mickey was gonna burn in hell at the end. like because there's like. Because they show, I think it's that one. They show like, and Pete is the devil. If you know who Pete is, like the big kind of, he's like, "Hey, Mickey Mouse," like that's how he talks, and he's the ghost of Christmas future, and he opens up a casket. It's not Mickey Mouse. It's actually, I think it's Scrooge McDuck, because Uncle Scrooge. But he's like. This is your future, and then a casket opens and it's literally like flames and fire, and he's like about to be thrown in it, and it freaked me out as a kid because I was just like, is Scrooge McDuck going to hell? But I thought he was, man. It's crazy. I was like, is that where greed gets you? So I guess technically, yeah. So I have to say Charlie Brown Christmas is probably one that I haven't watched it yet this year, so I'm gonna have to watch it. It's short, it's something you can watch really easily. It also is, I like Charlie Brown humor. It's kind of like adult humor and jokes, but little kids saying it. So, I like when they'll make political jokes in Charlie Brown, and they'll like, I don't know, they'll make jokes about like, I've heard them make jokes about the economy before, but it's from like a kid's perspective, which makes it funny. So I like that kind of stuff. I love the whole story of it. Also, everyone's mean to Charlie Brown, but I've gotten over that. That's his character. He was created to be like one of us, like everybody. You think of all your friends who are like, "Oh, you're dumb," or "You're not," I don't know, but that's just kind of how you relate to him, I guess. In some ways, It's like you've been Charlie Brown at some point in your life. But I just love the story. They always bring it about, this is the true meaning of Christmas. And they talk about the birth of Jesus, and anyways, it's just great. And I love Snoopy. I've watched, I'm making it a tradition in my house, I guess, to watch the Thanksgiving Charlie Brown, the pumpkin one. I forget what it's called. It's the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown, and then also the Merry Christmas Charlie Brown and Charlie Brown Christmas. So, anyways, but that's our 3. Let us know in the comments what you guys like watching every year.
You know what I want to know? I want to know someone. I want to hear someone like defend a modern Christmas story to me. Like I haven't seen one like a modern Christmas movie that I was like, that is a Christmas movie that I would like to watch.
There's one I heard a lot about. It's like it's an animated movie. I haven't watched it.
Animated movie.
It's on Netflix. It's called Klaus. It's called Klaus. I've heard the story is really good and interesting. From adults too. They said like they really enjoyed it. It's something they'll watch with their kids every year, and it just came out last year. They said the animation style is like super unique. And the story is really good, but I have not seen it. I just heard about it this year, and they were like, "Yeah, like Klaus is really good," and I was like, "Oh, okay."
I think I did see it on Netflix. I haven't watched it yet though.
I haven't either. So
it's one out of a million.
Yeah, it's Christmas is like mass produced on a media scale. You know what I mean? So, and it's hard to so everybody does a Christmas Carol. I didn't realize that until this year. Everybody does a Christmas Carol. I mean, I feel like everybody's done an adaptation of that. Another movie I've never seen is It's a Wonderful Life.
Really? You haven't seen that?
No, I've never watched it. I haven't. I've heard it's really good, but I've never watched it. I'm a fan of, forgot his name, but the actor that's in it. Do you remember his name?
No. I think I saw it once. And that was it.
I can kind of do his voice, but I don't remember his name, so it's escaping me. But anyways, yeah, I like him. He was in a movie we watched called Shop Around the Corner, which was really great. So anyways, but Jordan says that Christmas Chronicles is also good, which I think that has he's a classic actor too. I can't remember his name. What the heck? He was Kurt Russell.
Did I? Oh, I did.
Kurt Russell.
Kurt Russell played a great Santa in that movie. I did see Christmas.
Did he?
That was a pretty good movie.
They made like 3, right?
I think
They
so.
make 2 or 3. He said I remember reading something where he was like, I would play Santa the rest of my life if I could, and I was like, that's cool. So maybe they'll keep him going.
He did a really good. He doesn't naturally look the size of Santa, but he played a really good Santa. I thought he did a really good job.
Really, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. Well, I'll have to give him a watch. I wasn't sure. It's hard. Christmas has cheese in it, but there's some that are like all cheese, and I have a hard time going that route. And I'm like, what are you gonna,
like a Lifetime movie?
Hallmark movies, man.
Hallmark.
I can't stand Hallmark movies. Oh my gosh.
It's a rinse and repeat formula. It's just like different cast of character rotation.
They always switch. Like the stories to me always feel the same. They just switch the gender. So it's like a rich businessman who comes to this little farm town, and he's like, I have to work on Christmas, and she's like, but why? Christmas is so magical and wonderful, and like, here, do some farm work and make a fool of yourself, so then you'll be humbled, and then you'll be in the Christmas spirit. And then it's like, it's the same thing. If it's a girl, like the girl's like comes to a small town, she's like, I don't have any cell phone reception, and then the guy's like, well, we gotta, you can come to my house. I got a phone line there, and then she comes, and he's all like a lumberjack dude, and there's a scene where she sees him cutting wood or something, and he's sweating, and she's just like, I think I might like it here or something, and then, and then it's the same thing. She makes a fool of herself because she's doing yard work. And she's a businesswoman, and it's just, I just can't stand them. I can't stand them. Like it's
someone always hates Christmas. Basically, is what you're saying. Someone always hates Christmas.
Yes.
And then it takes the other person to change their mind, and then
and it's always for like
the true meaning of Christmas.
It's always for a stuck-up reason. And if it's not that storyline, then it's a storyline of a girl or a guy who feels like they'll never find love because their life has gotten too crazy or busy, and then they end up meeting somebody because their nosy best friend can't stay out of it, and they're giving them dating advice or relationship advice, and
it's really bad advice. It's always really bad advice.
Yeah, it is, and it works out.
Yeah, somehow it works out. Yeah.
Anyways, we got to move on because we got to give the people what they came here for. The people are watching. The people that we've had watching are watching because we want to talk about Spider-Man No Way Home. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into that. Spider-Man No Way Home. If you don't know what it is, I don't know why you're watching, but it is the third movie in the Tom Holland MCU Spider-Man franchise. And this one, really interesting. It basically, just give you the plot of it without spoiling anything before we jump into spoilers. Spider-Man, everybody knows Spider-Man's identity. Spider-Man goes to Doctor Strange and says, hey, everybody know my identity is causing a lot of problems for them. Can you fix it and change it back? And then basically Doctor Strange, the spell goes wrong that he does to help Peter, and it's letting in all these different villains that we have seen from different movies. So, and then Spider-Man has to figure out how to stop them, how to get them back, everything like that. So that's kind of the plot of the movie. But before I say anything, you can go read our spoiler review, my spoiler-free review, on all of on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all of that. You can go find it there. I kind of put what I thought it was. I thought how I reviewed the movie, how I saw the movie, in my own words, so you can go look at it there. But we're not here for spoiler-free. We're here for spoilers, Jonathan. So spoilers from this point on. Jonathan, I want you to start off with your reaction.
Oh man, it was great. It was a really, really solid movie. It felt like they really did a fan service kind of movie.
Yeah.
And it was a great way to kick off the last one. And I had mixed feelings throughout most of the movie. I didn't really like the premise of the movie. I didn't like the setup. I thought it was kind of dumb. But overall, the whole, like, I can nitpick things in the movie that I didn't like and here and there, whatever. But overall, I really, really enjoyed the movie. Like, it was, I don't think it's been a while since I like sat down in a movie and I just like enjoyed every aspect of the movie that they were presenting to me. All the characters. I loved how they played Peter Parker. I loved how they played Toby and Andrew and Tom against each other, and like they all had great chemistry together, which was awesome. I love the writing for Toby. I felt like they really gave him a the Big Brother role, which was awesome because that's what he deserved in the movie.
I loved that. Yeah, I love that so much.
And I love Andrew being like the middle child, the one trying to get attention from everybody else, and thinking he's not good enough because he's not like the big brother and he's not the baby.
He's like the middle child. Yeah, is that what you just said?
Yeah. How do you want to structure this? You want to just talk about positives first, and then we can talk about negatives later, or you want to talk positives, negatives first?
Yeah, let's start with the well, there's a lot more. Let's start with negatives. There's a lot less negatives.
Okay, yeah.
There's a lot more positive than negatives.
I agree with that.
So things that I didn't like about the movie, the plot, in my opinion, which people will have differing opinions on this, what I'm about to say, but the plot was, you could easily poke holes in it. It's not hard to find a flaw there because it was there's so many questions about, okay, why does this, like for instance, so just to recap it for you guys who maybe haven't seen it and just want to watch a spoiler-free review, which I don't know why. Honestly, if I'm so glad people didn't spoil this movie because it would have ruined the movie for me. Because the movie thrives off of the things that would be spoiler. I mean, it's not one of those movies that you can tell somebody about and be like, oh, like if you tell someone about all of it, they're not really going to find it that interesting. I mean, you'll find it interesting, but it's not going to be surprising, right? You're not going to have that feel. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. The excitement when you see the people.
Yeah, that's what drives the movie, is the excitement of all these new introductions. And so if you tell someone about what's going on, it's just kind of ruin it. I think I'm about to see it again with my sister this week, and I'm not going to tell her anything because I want to make sure she gets as surprised as she can. But anyways, the spell that Doctor Strange does, Peter comes and talks to him, and Doctor Strange is like, yeah, we've done this spell lots of times for smaller things that aren't as important. So like, we can go ahead and do it for you. And he does it. And then, you would think Doctor Strange is supposed to be the best wizard in the MCU, essentially, to our knowledge. We find out Wong has gotten the Sorcerer Supreme banner. That was kind of funny. I also hated it because I'm like, he needs to be the Sorcerer Supreme.
I was like, that's funny, but I really don't want that. Like,
it was funny though because it does make sense. It's like, well, he was gone for 5 years, so I hate that word, blipped. They could have picked a different word, but that's fine. Anyways, so Peter Parker, while Doctor Strange is doing the spell or whatever, Peter Parker's like, well, what about this person? What about this person? And the Doctor Strange is like, okay, fine. And I'm like, so who's in control of the spell? Is Peter in control of the spell, or is Doctor Strange in control of the spell? And they're like, the spell's just messing up. And it's like, but how is it messing up? Because he keeps adding people, but like Doctor Strange could have not added people. Like, because it showed Doctor Strange adding people, right? It shows him adding people, but then Peter's like saying stuff, and because he's saying stuff, the spell's changing, and it's like, but Peter's not magic. So like, there's things like that in my opinion, in the plot, where I was just kind of like, okay, I see why you have to do this, but you could have done a better job with that. You could have explained a little bit more what was going on. What did you think?
No, I agree with you. I thought the spell was kind of weird. It just the whole setup kind of felt forced. It was like, how can we explain why these other Spider-Men are going to join the movie? Well, let's just say that the spell got messed up somehow. Well, how to get messed up? Don't really worry about that. The people are in the movie now.
It's just going to get messed up.
Yeah. That's all you need to really, really be concerned about. I just thought it was weird that it felt forced, and it felt like it was unnecessary for it to move the plot story along. It felt like they could have came up with a more solid reason for introducing these people. Because my question was, if the multiverse is so infinite, are you telling me there's only 3 universes and where someone knows that Spider-Man is Peter Parker?
Yeah.
Like, there should be like millions of universes where
they also didn't explain why those specific universes were
exactly
through and not other ones.
Exactly. Which is what I was kind of hoping more would happen. Like, and this is probably more just my personal preference. I was like, because I already heard about Toby and Andrew being in the movie, I was hoping they'd do like a 4th Spider-Man that no one had heard about before, who wasn't like Miles Morales or something like that. And he just like popped up, even if it was a cameo, that'd have been so cool. But I guess they didn't want to commit to another actor or something like that. But yeah, I just the spell felt weird. It felt like Doctor Strange didn't really know what he was doing, which to me the whole movie made Doctor Strange seem a lot less competent, and I was kind of disappointed.
I would
in
kind
that.
of agree with that,
because he didn't even help like at all in the movie. He fought Spider-Man, and he was just like, "You go fix the problem." And I was like, "But you did this. Like, this is your fault." So
yeah, I agree. I agree with that. I also they kind of made Doctor Strange seem a little like he felt a little bit out of character, just a
yeah,
little bit. It didn't
yeah,
feel like. And again, this is a small thing. I loved Benedict Cumberbatch being in. I think the movie was better because Doctor Strange was in it for how much he was in it for. I enjoyed that. I also liked that Spider-Man kind of had to work with Doctor Strange for a little bit. That was an interesting dynamic. Another thing I liked about Doctor Strange, which I'm going into things I like now, but there's a lot to like about the movie. Another thing I liked was I kind of liked how Doctor Strange was like, oh, I forgot. I keep forgetting that you're like a kid, that you're a teenager, because Peter's done some very adult things,
exactly.
He's done things in the Marvel movies that are well beyond his years, that you would not imagine a 16 or 17-year-old kid doing. And he's done that. I mean, he's gone to space. He's fought Thanos. He's done some, he's fought Captain America. And also when you keep calling him Spider-Man, you probably think that he's an adult, but he's not. So I kind of, I liked that the movie kept reminding you, like, this is a kid who makes mistakes. This is a kid who messes up. And kind of like what we talked about, I think in our last podcast, I think it was our last one, or it could have been 2 ago. They really focused on, they did what we wanted them to do. They focused on, he has a hard decision to make. He has to make this decision. And he chose the right decision, even though it was a no-win situation, right? Like there's no really good way out, but he worked through it and he got through it.
Exactly.
And I enjoyed that. So, but what else did you not like about the movie?
I did not like the scene after not the immediate scene. I mean, it was a difficult scene to tackle, but I thought they did overall. I thought they did a good job. This is just me nitpicking. I didn't like that they killed Aunt May. I thought that was kind of. I just didn't have an attachment to her character enough to like care that she really died. But I thought the moment that they made kind of brought the character to me, and it was like, you should care because she's just his. I mean, even if you don't know anything about her, that's his lifeline basically. That's the only person.
That's the only person that in his life. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. And so I was like, okay, I can feel that moment, but I didn't really care about the character, like Aunt May, because I don't know. It was just like, okay, she's dead.
Yeah. I think people and I think there might be a little bit of a difference here between people who watch the movies and don't read comics and people who read the comics and watch the movies, because you and we grew up with Uncle Ben.
Yeah.
So we're like, well, because I felt the same way, and Adolin did too. My wife did too. She was like, I talked to her and I was like, I didn't really feel much when she died, and she was like, I didn't either. She was like, I really didn't. And I was like, well, Tom Holland was doing such a great job acting. I mean, that boy knows how to cry.
Yeah,
he was doing such a realistic job. And well, and
it looks like his crying face. Like, that boy knows how to cry. New merch dropping soon.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, and I see what Jordan. I don't know if you're looking at the comics, but Jordan said that she's the only person he had, though. It brings nice gravitas. I agree. I'm just saying that I think that for some reason, something about her death, it could have been how much talking she did before she died.
Yeah.
Because like her death was a little delayed. Like I didn't really feel. I was like, wait, she's dead? Okay, she's not dead. Okay, she just told him with great power comes great responsibility. Oh, now she is dead. She's dead? I kept questioning whether she was alive or dead.
Yeah.
I did in that point. So that could have affected it. I agree, though. It does bring great gravitas. And I heard it like this. I heard it's kind of funny. I was listening to a podcast and they said it's almost like they took 3 movies of Spider-Man to create Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, he didn't have. They almost showed what he was like, what Spider-Man was like, if he did not have a moment that brought him down to earth like that. If he didn't have an emotional like, wow, this is my fault, or I need to have there, great power comes great responsibility. He never kind of felt that moment throughout the series, I
Yeah.
think. So like they almost brought him to a point where it was like, wow, like he's finally understanding that. And so the moment was powerful, yet for me, it lost a lot of.
Yeah, it could have been more significant, is what I think you mean to say.
Yeah, yeah.
I agree with you. I think that may have been what they were trying to show throughout the movies, because remember in the first one, he's like constantly calling Tony, trying to get an Avengers level mission, like he wants to do something big. He kind of gets bored with doing the everyday Spider-Man stuff.
Yeah,
he does it, but he's kind of like, I want more. Like I fought Captain America, like I want to do that again. Like I want to do something at that level. And then he fights Thanos, and he kind of did feel like he was like not the neighborhood guy anymore. He's kind of like an Avenger now.
He didn't feel that way at all.
So I can agree. This did feel like 3 movies of origin. If that's what they were trying to do, they did a good job, because that's what it felt like. It didn't feel like he was officially Spider-Man yet. Now I think we're going to get more to that. Like
he felt more like Spider-Man at the end of the movie to me than I've ever seen him before. I was like, oh, that's Spider-Man. Like that is Spider-Man.
Yeah,
right
the decision.
There.
Yeah, I agree with that. I was upset they fast forwarded through the trial. I was very upset they fast forwarded through the trial. That felt like it was way
the trial.
Yeah, like when he got caught being Spider-Man and they like interviewed him and stuff like that. It kind of felt like they just like zip. We're gonna just like it happened. Just forget it. That's not really the main focus of the movie. This is really the focus of the movie.
Yeah. I have a feeling. I have this weird feeling like I bet they had a ton of scenes that they cut out.
That's what it felt like. It felt like they kind of just skipped over it. Like it like got cut. At some place it got cut. But I was hoping for a lot more of like, oh my gosh, people found he's Spider-Man. His friends are going to get the scene with his best friend Ned telling the cops like everything. That was hilarious. It was also that's just a Ned thing to do. Like just to go off on a tangent about how like you're really Spider-Man's best friend and he knew before everybody else, and that's so much of his character. I got that, but I just feel like there should have been more pressure on everyone finding out he's Spider-Man. But I guess you mean a longer movie for that. I don't know.
Yeah, well, and the other thing too is like I think what they were trying more so to show was not like because I think the characters in the movie, they have this kind of ride or die mentality when it comes, like Peter's friends do. They're like, hey man, if we go to prison, like we don't care. It's fine. But I think when he noticed it was messing up like them getting for some reason, I think Peter related more to, oh shoot, like their dreams will not come true because of me. And I think that maybe hit him harder. I don't know why necessarily, but it seems like it did.
I would say the movie did a good job of that point of like, this is not just like about him trying to be a superhero and trying to have a girlfriend at the same time, which is a lot of superhero stories. This is about like his actions directly affect how their future pans out. Like if they had never met him, they would have a much better outcome than if than the fact that he's in their life. Yeah. So I thought the movie did a really good job of trying to teach that point.
Yeah, I agree.
Did you have any more negatives?
I think the only thing I wanted to touch on was and if you think about it, guys, these are really like minor narrative points. Yeah. Because if you notice, we've literally only talked about like the beginning of the movie. Like that's all we've talked about. Like to be honest, I had 2 things I wanted to say. I agree with you because this is what happened to me when I was watching the movie. I guess I only have one thing to say because they're together, so never mind. When it started off, the pace was good for me. It was like basically when it was like, oh man, we're investigating Spider-Man. You're gonna need a lawyer. We'll talk about it in a second. All these different things that were happening that I was like, oh, this is so interesting. Like they're gonna do a case about it and everything. And then when it slowed down for me was literally when he started to talk to Doctor Strange, because it just kind of was like, okay, he's talking to Doctor Strange. Okay, villains show up. Okay, like I don't know. That part was just slow for me. And then they finally caught all the villains. It was that part that was slow. The part where it picked up for me was when we got to see how he was going to fix everybody. So how he was. So that's, for me, that's where the movie picked up again. That middle part was just a little slow, and I think the reason it was slow was because there was a lot of narrative questions. And I think that's where a lot of the narrative questions lied, was like, well, why? What about? And it was like my brain kept, and I was like, just watch the movie. It's okay. Like, just enjoy this, because I was like, if I think about this too hard, I'm going to ruin the experience for myself.
Yeah.
But that was the only negative thing.
Wait. Let me say, this is probably my biggest negative. And again, this is my opinion. This is not shared by anybody.
MJ's not a redhead. No, I'm just kidding.
I did not like Aunt May telling him to save the villains. I thought that was really dumb. I thought that was very dumb.
That's debatable, but I agree.
I was like, if that doesn't feel like the right thing to do. The right thing to do is to send them back, and whatever fate they may. I mean, because she didn't even know how they died. Like, almost all of them died because of their own failings. Like the Green Goblin skewered himself. Doc Ock literally drowned trying to save New York. Like, that's an honorable death.
Noble
death. You should want to die like that. I don't remember most of the Amazing Spider-Man stuff, so I don't really know how they all died.
Electro died. Well, Electro technically didn't die. We don't know if he died.
Well, yeah.
He kind of like dissipated, so to speak.
But Sandman, did Sandman die?
No, Sandman did not die. But they were bringing him. They brought everybody in a point in their movies where they thought they were about to die. Was kind of the thing. So that was the thing that Peter was like, well, I don't know if I send you back if you're going to die or not.
That's life, anyways, man. People are gonna die. Like, even the people he sent back, they're gonna die at some point. Like, I was just like very upset with Aunt May, like trying to tell him like, that's right, because I knew it was gonna make everything worse. Like, it's just like that's not the reason why I think it was a bad choice. I think it was a bad choice because, again, you don't know how these people died, and if they're all villains, they all seem to be committed to their ways. Like, you have no history on them whatsoever. To know that even if you do this, they won't make the same decision anyway.
Yeah.
So I was just like, I just don't feel like that's. I understand the point they were trying to make. They're trying to like get a moment where Peter is forced to do the right thing, even though it doesn't make logical sense, I guess.
Yeah.
But it felt like a poor choice of the way they went about it. Like, I feel like there could have been a different way they could have done it to make it. I don't know, more convincing that he was having a moral dilemma.
Yeah, well, I agree with you, and I agreed with Doctor Strange more.
Yeah.
Doctor Strange was like, we can't tamper with this stuff, because he was like, we don't know if we change anything in those other universes, we don't know how it's going to affect everybody else. Like, we do not know that. And I was like, yeah, because if you save this person, you could inadvertently kill thousands.
Yeah.
Without meaning to.
Yeah.
And it's like, you should just leave it. You should just leave it. And then when Aunt May was like, is this best for them or best for you? I was like, it's best for everybody.
It's best for everybody.
Yeah. I was like, it's best for you, Aunt May. Like, you need to like stop. So, but I agree with you. What they were trying to do was I think they were trying to create a Civil War type of dilemma where it's like, there's right on both sides and there's wrong on both sides. So like, we're trying to put him in this situation where it doesn't necessarily make sense, but I think you can probably argue which case is better, and it was kind of like that in Civil War as well, where they were like, well, who do you agree with? And it was kind of like, well, there's kind of one side that makes more sense than the other one, like there was obviously a good side in there. Even though they tried to make it good and good, or evil and evil, whatever. But anyways, let's talk about good stuff, because there's lots of good stuff in this movie.
There's lots of good stuff.
Let's praise this movie.
I will say that like none of the negatives ruined the movie for me. None of the negative things that we talked about at the beginning ruined the movie for me, because it turned out so much better than I ever thought it was going to be. Way exceeded my expectations. By far.
Well, and if you're judging this movie purely on a movie basis, like if you haven't seen any other MCU movie, one, you're going to be extremely lost.
Yeah, you're not going to get the crowd reactions.
You're not going to understand. You're not going to understand the purpose of the movie.
Yeah.
The purpose of the movie really shines in the middle and the end of the movie. That's really where you see why this movie was put out there and what it was trying to do.
Yeah, that was actually a question I had for you. Did you feel like it was more fan service than movie, or more movie than fan service?
I think it was trying to do two things. I think it was trying to tell a uniquely specific Spider-Man story. I think they were trying. So for one thing, it was trying to do was like, this movie is gonna be about Spider-Man. It's not about Tony Stark. It's not about Doctor Strange. It's not about the Avengers. It's about Spider-Man, because the other two Spider-Man movies, and every Spider-Man movie that Spider-Man's been in has not been about him, in my opinion. Yeah. It has. Homecoming kind of was about him, but it was more. I felt this heavy reliance on Tony Stark. And then the second one, the plot was about Tony Stark. I mean, now it involved Spider-Man, and Spider-Man grew through that story. So we see his growth, but it wasn't a full-on Spider-Man story in the sense of Spider-Man has a dilemma. And if you've read comics or know much about the Spider-Man character, you know what we mean by a Spider-Man story.
Yeah.
It's a dilemma where Peter has to make a really tough choice, and it directly affects him. And Spider-Man's always having to make decisions like that. And so they finally told one, and I think I think that's what the director was really trying to do, because I think he hears those criticisms. The second thing they were trying to do is fan service. I mean, this entire movie was fan service. I mean, and that's great. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
I would hate to live in a world where this movie doesn't exist. It was a really fun movie.
Yeah.
So that's what do you think?
Yeah, no, I thought the same thing. I agree with you about the unique Spider-Man story. I think I just thought the movie was more fan service than a movie, and that wasn't a bad thing. It was a really, really good thing, because we hadn't had much of that. I mean, since I guess Endgame, when they went back in time and visited all the previous movies and stuff like that. It felt amazing that the studio kind of like gave a nod to everyone who, you know, who watched the first three movies of Spider-Man, who watched the Amazing Spider-Man. Like, it gave a nod to people who watched the Marvel shows, you know, the Netflix shows. Even if you even if you just watch Daredevil, it gave you a nod. It was like, hey, we appreciate what you did, and we're not going to even explain these characters to you. We're not going to explain like why they're here. We're just going to put them out there because we know that you watched them, and we thank you for that. And so that to me was like the best.
Like,
thing.
You put the work in.
Yeah, it was like you made it all worth it. Like, you made it mean something to me, and that was like something I can't repay you for. That was awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, if you have a chance to go see this movie in theaters, go see it in theaters. It's so fun.
Don't wait until you go home.
Don't wait till it's on Disney Plus or something like that. Like, see it in theaters.
It's not Eternals. It's not Eternals.
Oh yes, yes. It's not Eternals. It's not Eternals. No.
I actually had a guy. I was getting new tires put on my car, and he saw my Spider-Man No Way Home tickets in my cup holder, and he was like, by the way, I saw you saw No Way Home. And I was like, oh, this is funny. And then the guy was like, we just saw it. We thought it was amazing. He says, I wanted to know. He's like, I'm assuming you're a Marvel fan. He's like, on Sunday, we're going to go to the theaters again. And he was like, I was thinking about seeing Eternals. He says, I kind of wanted to see Spider-Man No Way Home again. I really want to watch the movie again. So he was like, I don't know, which one should I do? And I was like, and then he reminded me that Eternals is coming out on Disney Plus like January 11th. And I was like, oh, I said I would go see No Way Home again. Like, I was like, that movie was made for theaters. Like, it's much more. And I was like, Eternals, I was like, it doesn't really do a whole lot in the overall. It kind of does, but it doesn't really do any. It's a movie you can wait to see, because it doesn't have any immediate consequences to the overarching MCU storyline. And I was like, it's not really like, you know, I was like, it's okay. I said, it's interesting. I gave him my little review of it, but I was like, yeah, Spider-Man No Way Home, see it in theaters. So
absolutely, guys. If you don't like theaters, I sympathize with you. But this movie was so much. I was thinking, like, if I sat home and watched this movie, it wouldn't be nearly as much fun as like participating with the. I
kind of wish I could see it in IMAX. Yeah. I wish I could see it in IMAX. That would have been great.
Yeah. I mean, the movie looks beautiful, but I enjoyed the fans that I was with, and like all of us cheering when Andrew came out, when Doc Ock came out, like when Toby came out, like the crowd was like everyone like so hyped. Everyone's jumping out of their seats like, yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Yeah, for sure. So it's great. But man, I have to talk about Charlie Cox Daredevil showing up, man. Oh my gosh. Everybody in the crowd, they didn't cheer. They were like, I heard gasps everywhere. Everyone was like, they were like, what? And I was like, I know. I was like so freaking out. I was like, he's in it. And then he caught the thing and he was like, I'm a really good lawyer. And I was like, that's so freaking great. And he acted, he was the exact same character.
Yeah.
No change. He's the exact same character we saw on the show. I loved his cameo so much. Like he's probably my favorite Marvel cameo, hands down. Like I'm not even kidding.
What?
Like,
over Stan Lee? I don't know. I can't go that. Oh, I can't.
I'm talking about a Marvel character,
especially like after he died. I was like, oh man, this is great. Like I love Stan Lee. I think that was the only good thing about that movie. What was it?
Captain Marvel.
Captain Marvel. That's the only good thing about that movie was they got Stan Lee to come.
The cameo for that was perfect too.
Yeah,
that was his last cameo, and she just like looks at him and smiles and nods. I was like, yeah. But I'm not counting Stan Lee. I'm not counting Stan Lee. I'm talking about Marvel, like Marvel characters. So, like better than Blade, better than Thanos, better than all these other things. Like that was hands down my favorite cameo. I was just like, he exists in the universe finally. Like, anyways, let's talk about that scene real fast because you and me, actually, my friend Jordan, who's been commenting, him and I disagreed a little bit too, but I loved that scene. I thought it was a great scene. I thought it was very fitting for him. Sorry, my camera's moving. I thought it was a perfect scene for him. I loved the dialogue. Also, I need to watch it again because I couldn't hear everything he said because people were like cheering so much. But anyways, yeah, I loved it. I thought the length was fine. It could have been longer, sure, but
that's just being picky. I think if you're just like I just didn't like it because it wasn't long enough. I think that's just being picky. That's just being picky.
I think so too. I think that's just kind of like, because I think the reason they put him in there was solely because people have been asking about that since the shows have been canceled. Ever since the show was canceled, people were like, are we going to get more of him? Can we get more of him? Because they were like, the rights are going to go back to Marvel. Like, we need more. Like, people love that. I was telling Adolin, I was like, I don't think people realize how big that show's fan base is. Like, there's lots of people who like, and I'm not talking about all the Netflix shows. I'm simply talking about Daredevil. Like, people love Daredevil. Like, I know lots of people who don't really watch the Netflix shows, but I know tons of people who are like, I just watched Daredevil and it was freaking good.
Yeah.
Like, they really enjoyed it. So I mean, I'm really hoping that they do. I think they will do something with him soon, but I think the whole point of that was just to be like, listen, he's in the universe. We're gonna do something with him and his characters. They will be in something soon. Like, I felt like that's what they were trying to say. So dang. I was just happy to get that.
Are we keeping Danny Rand, the Iron Fist?
I don't know, man.
I hope they keep him just to give a middle finger to people who didn't like the show. Okay, for racist reasons. For racist reasons, you didn't like the show. I hope they keep him just to give a middle finger to those people.
He's a white savior.
He's appropriating culture. It's like, have you read the comic books? Like, this is what he does.
He's not appropriating culture. This is the culture he grew up in.
Yeah, he appreciates it. That's what it is. The appreciation of the culture.
It's not appropriation. It's appreciation.
I mean, I will say the movie didn't do him any favors by making him sound like one of those like white guys that you meet like at a college who like took a 2-year trip to Tibet and he's like, out now. And he's like, I know all the Chinese symbols for this and stuff. It's like
they made him a little the dialogue was bad.
Yeah.
Honestly, the best thing that he was in was that episode in Luke Cage season 2.
Yeah.
He was great in that. I loved him in that because they wrote his character well.
Yeah.
They actually did his character decently well. He wasn't walking around saying, I am the immortal Iron Fist like 24/7. Like, whoever did the writing for that was garbage.
He did say that a lot season 1.
And in Defenders, he did that. They were like, who are you? He was like, I'm the immortal Iron Fist. And they were like, is that supposed to mean something? Like,
I did like Charlie Cox's appearance. I will say I wanted more, but it's okay. It's okay. I was fine with it because of the rest of the movie. I was fine with it.
I think if we would have gotten another short scene with him, like, and I would imagine there's probably one out there. Like you said, Yeah, because you said like, oh, well, that courtroom part could have been longer. Like, I imagine there's probably a scene where he was in the courtroom with him, because we never even found out if he got him as a lawyer.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And knowing Matt Murdock, he would have done it pro bono. He would have been like, I'll help you out because I understand what you're going through. So I mean, I think there was probably more there, but it was solely in there for a cameo purpose. I mean, you could tell that's why they had it in there.
Yeah.
So
it was good. It was good though. It was good. I love this. I love his lines. I agree with you. I didn't really hear it because we were so shocked and like everyone was reacting.
Yeah.
But it was great. And then the brick came in. He caught it, and I was like, oh yes.
And he didn't even look either. He was just like, he just like caught it, and then they were like, "What did you just do?" Because like Spider-Man apparently didn't even pick that up. Like he was like, "What the heck?" And he was just like, yeah."
Is it weird for me to say I got a little bit too much Happy in this movie? Like I felt like I got too much of him in this movie, and it was like it wasn't all bad. It was just like it just felt like overbearing. And I was
Happy the character?
Yeah, Happy Hogan. I was like,
I
a little bit too much.
I like Happy a lot. I like Jon Favreau. I love Jon Favreau, so I didn't, but I understand. I can understand your viewpoint on that. Yeah. Anyways, let's move on. Yeah. So, what else did you like about this movie?
I love the appearance of the two Spider-Mans, like how Ned is the one who opens the portal. And I even love the explanation for it. I even love the explanation, like, oh, Ned talked about how he had like magic in his fingers and stuff like that, and how he was just like, I want to see Peter or Spider-Man or something, or Peter, and then he like trying to open it, and then like he walks through. I did think it was kind of dumb that Andrew Garfield walks in and like instantly pulls his mask off. I was like, why would you? It's a secret identity, but I loved it because Toby, like, he remarks on it immediately. He's like, "Yeah, I wouldn't just walk around telling people I'm Spider-Man because that's like now you're not going to do that."
Yeah, that's true. And for every reason you were like, "Why did they do that?" They kept
Yeah,
exactly. So I forgot this was in my negatives, by the way. Ned having magic was such a plot device. Like that was such like, well, how are we gonna get him through? We'll just mention that like Ned has magic in his family. Like it was like, oh, okay, we've never heard this throughout the other movies. But,
never even seen
but it was funny. I completely agree. It was funny and it was.
But I didn't I like that they played it like he doesn't really know how to use his powers, because that was like the ending of the movie was like he couldn't close the portal, and that was like the whole funny thing. So I was okay with it because of that, at least.
Yeah, I wonder if we'll get more of that in the future.
Yeah, maybe.
Of course, I mean, because Doctor Strange wouldn't have forgotten about Ned. He just forgot that Spider-Man was Peter Parker. So, I wonder.
Well, Ned Leeds, isn't he the Hobgoblin?
In the comics?
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't think Ned was in the comics.
Ned Leeds. Yeah, his name was Edward Ned Leeds. Is a fictional character. Yeah, he's a Hobgoblin.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. Well, cool. I didn't know he was actually in the comics. That makes me like him a little bit more. So, I mean, I sound like such a comic book. But
it's not like the comic book.
It's not. Oh, it's a woman instead.
Her name's Michelle. I don't like it.
I don't though.
Well, you got what you asked for. You got what you asked for.
That's right. She's out of his life. No. No, I'm not a Zendaya fan, so I'm not a Zendaya fan. I'm not, man. I haven't watched Dune. Maybe she's good in Dune. I hated Shake It Up.
Just a hater. That's all that is. Just a hater. I never liked Chicago. You're a hater.
No, the reason I don't like her is Mary Jane. Which that's who she is. Don't say she's Michelle. She's not. Like that's and
what did she say? Her middle name was Mary or something like that, or something.
No, her like surname is like Watson or something. Like yeah. Like she like I don't go by Watson anymore though. She's like that's like so she must have gotten her parents must have gotten divorced and then maybe her mom remarried or something. But no, I've never liked her character. I'm not saying she doesn't have good chemistry with Tom Holland. I think it's okay.
You mean like the way they written her character, like for like the doom and gloom?
Yeah, like she's not she's not Mary Jane at all. like it's literally like, it's like if you took Spider-Man and you took away the fact that he got bitten by a radioactive spider, he can't shoot webs, he can't crawl, like, and it's like Spider-Man, but like he wears like a spider on his back, and he's like I'm Spider-Man. It's like, that's not Spider-Man. Like, because they took everything away from the character that makes her her. Like, she's not a redhead. She doesn't act like Mary Jane. Like, the character, like, there's nothing that is the only thing that she has that's similar to Mary Jane in the comics is that she's dating Peter Parker, and that's
she's his support system.
That's it. That's
and,
about it.
And being his support system. That was pretty factual in the movie, at least. She was very like committed to like, I'm your girlfriend, and yeah. In this movie,
but her personality though is just not like, you gotta agree.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
But I'm thankful she's not as whiny as the girl in the early Spider-Man movies. She got kind of rough there in the third one. Anyways, we're talking about this movie, man. We got to finish the good stuff because we're doing our tangent thing where we like to go. So, okay, let's talk about the big. Well, actually, let's talk about this. William Defoe's Green Goblin was just as good as I remembered it was.
Yeah.
It was so good in this movie. Yeah. Also, I thought it was crazy that he was the one who killed Aunt May.
Yeah.
I was like, they're going to make him kill Aunt May? I was like, that's great. That's awesome.
But this is probably like a negative that I didn't like, which is probably my issue with the entire franchise, which is what we've been talking about.
We can't help but rag on good movies, can we? We just have to find something wrong.
No, we're talking a lot of good stuff. But like, there is no mainstay Spider-Man villain. You know, like there's no villain that he has that I would have preferred take Aunt May's life. If someone's gonna take Aunt May's life, I would have preferred it be his villain. You know, from his movies, so that can be a reoccurring theme in the movies. Is that that's the guy who killed my Uncle Ben, basically.
Yeah. Well, remind me, I have one thing that I want to talk about, but it'll be at the end of this conversation because it is related to that point, but I don't want to get into it right now.
Okay.
But yeah, I agree with you. It would have been nice to have been like someone that he was closer to.
Yeah.
Because what made the Tobey Maguire one so crazy was like Tobey didn't know the person, but he directly, like, he met the person before he killed Uncle Ben. So
it was all within his line of experience, basically.
Yes, he could have stopped him from stealing the money, and he was like, "No, I'm going to let you go." And because of that, that's what happened. So
exactly, which is why the origin story is so beautiful, because it's like that reaffirms Uncle Ben's statement of with great power comes great responsibility, because it was his responsibility to stop him.
Peter shrugs off at the beginning, at the beginning of that.
Exactly, and that's why the origin story is so amazing. Oh my gosh, I love the origin story so much.
But anyways, I thought all the villains, Dr. Octopus did a great job.
Yeah.
Man, it was crazy. They brought literally every actor back.
Yeah.
I was like, how did they get all the actors? Because Sandman at first, I did not think it was I forgot the guy's name, but I did not think it was him from Spider-Man 3. At first, but then I heard his voice and I was like, "Oh my gosh, it is!" And then it showed him at the end. And the same thing with the Lizard. I wasn't sure about the Lizard, and then they showed it at the end. I was like, "Oh, that's the same actor." Only person I did not like in this movie was Jamie Foxx. I didn't like him, bro.
Oh my gosh, Eric. Come on, man.
He wasn't good. You know what's even worse, and it's fine. You can tell me I'm crazy. I liked Jamie Foxx in Amazing Spider-Man 2 better than in this movie. I thought his acting was pretty weak. This was another big thing. I keep going back to things I didn't like. Well, I'm going through everything. So forget the whole like we don't like this and we like this thing. So we're just kind of going everywhere. They didn't explain why he looked different. They did, but they did not.
Yeah.
Because everybody else did not change.
Well, some people are saying that he's from a different universe. He's not from the Spider-Man 2 Amazing Spider-Man universe that they think he's from. He's actually from a different universe, which is why he looks
You could make that case, but it also doesn't make sense where it's like, well, everything happened the same. He just looks different still.
Yeah.
But he literally says, well, I look different in this universe. That's why he wants to stay there, because he likes the way he looks and he doesn't want to be a nerd. But why did he change and nobody else did? You know what I mean? Like it didn't. I didn't like that.
And not just his image change, but also his personality kind of changed. He seemed like he was like a lot cooler.
He was like, oh, power. I just want power, man. And I was like, I'm not buying it. Like that's just what I thought. Like I didn't like it.
My wife actually loved Jamie Foxx in this movie. She loved that was one of her favorite villains in this movie.
I didn't like him. I like Jamie Foxx as an actor. I do. I like him as an actor. I didn't like him in this movie. I just didn't. He was okay. He didn't do much for me.
So did you feel like it was the way they wrote him, or did you feel like it was his acting? Like he just kind of was like
it was a mix of both. And I think they were, and this is the problem. I think instead of just sucking it up and being like, well, this is how he was in Amazing Spider-Man 2, even though a lot of people didn't like it, let's just move him in. They were like, people didn't really like him, so like let's change the character 90%. And so then you were like, well, why is he changed? Well, because when he came into this universe, he looks different. And then they're like, but nobody else looks different. And it's like, don't worry about that. And it's like, okay.
Can I just say I loved his joke at the end? I did love that joke when he was like, "I thought you'd be black." I love that. That was joke. Great. That was hilarious. That was hilarious to me.
I agree. I thought it was great. I thought that was great too. That's probably the one scene I liked him in. I agree with you. I did like him in that scene. But the whole like, and then he was just kind of like, I feel power. Oh, and like that's kind of all he talked about was power. Like, and I was like, I don't know those.
I mean, that's a little bit more comic book accurate, because he was like his Electro's ultimate dream was to become basically energy.
Yeah, so which he already was though.
Yeah, but not like not even like he didn't want to be a person anymore. He wanted to be just strictly energy.
Yeah, well, what I mean is like that happened in the last movie.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Like in Amazing Spider-Man 2, that basically happens at the end. So like before he dies, which is the point that he says he got moved over. So I don't know. Anyway, I don't know if anybody will be able to convince me that he was that he did a great job. But anyways,
Willem Dafoe, he did an amazing job. And I like read like later on that he was like, if I'm gonna come back, I had to have a serious role in this movie.
Yeah.
And I was so appreciative of that, because he was probably, at least to me, this is my opinion, I thought he was better than Doc Ock. I thought he was a lot better than Doc Ock in the Spider-Man trilogy early on.
Oh, really?
He was just more fearsome. He was more menacing. He could take every shot. Yeah, that Peter gave him, which I love. They showed that in this movie. Like Peter was like wailing on him, and he's just like, ha 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 ha. He's like laughing at him.
Yeah,
I love that part. That was one of my favorite parts.
Bro, he was so evil in this movie.
Yes.
Like he was. I would say almost more evil. That because he did that whole thing with his dual personality. Yeah. And they showed that off quite a bit. I would say they showed it off more than in the Sam Raimi films.
Yeah.
Because you get a little bit of it in the Sam Raimi, but you see him more as the Goblin than anything else. But in this one, you saw him as like the good-hearted person, and you felt really bad for him. You were like, man, this guy's like has a mental illness, like he needs help. And then he was just like, nope, I'm straight up evil, and I'm gonna kill your aunt. And it was just, and that's what made Peter so much like that's what made it so much more relatable in that moment. Because it was like he wants to kill him so bad. Which was I loved that added bit of darkness in the movie. Like it need like, because the two movies before it, they felt a little too happy-go-lucky for me. So I loved that there was like serious consequences in this movie.
He was probably definitely the brightest star in the movie, other than Tobey. To me, Tobey was he was so great.
I know Tobey Maguire has a special place in your heart. That's fine.
Yeah, man. If I could marry that guy, gosh.
I don't think you'd want to.
And just make him be Spider-Man all the way. Just make him always be Spider-Man. You can only be Peter Parker. You can't be anybody else. He plays that role so well. He plays that role so well for me.
I was really wanting a reference to him being emo Spider-Man.
They didn't
put it in there.
Yeah,
that would have been like the most meta they could have been in this movie, which is already pretty meta, but they could have really like ramped it up if they would have done that. But that's fine.
Yeah, I loved the conversation they had right towards the end of the final act, when they're all like just talking about their experience as Spider-Man and stuff like that, and they're like asking him about the web fluid coming out of his body.
That was hilarious.
Talking about their different villains that they've, and like Tom Holland's like, I've been to space and I felt like and we have the Avengers here, and they're like, is that like a band? I love that entire conversation. I kind of wish it was longer because I wanted so much more. But
you could give us like a show of that.
Yes,
or a
them
whole
just
movie.
talking. Yeah.
Like it's
I
so
was
great.
eating that up, man. I was eating it up. That
well,
was
they
so
did
great.
it perfectly. They did it so like the dialogue was perfect. Like I loved. And then what's even better is like they were almost impressed, but not jealous. Like they were like impressed. They were like, this other version of me is so cool. Like they're like, I'm so cool. Like this guy, he's been to space here. And then one of my favorite lines was when you know, I love how encouraging Tobey Maguire is. He's he's been through
Andrew
it,
Garfield.
He's like been through it. Like so he's like so encouraging, and he's like, hey man, don't talk about yourself that way because you're amazing. You're amazing. I love,
that was great. Oh,
and I was just like, because he's the amazing. I wanted him to say you're the amazing Spider-Man, but that probably would have been too far. I just wanted to hear it though. That part was so great. I love that part. It was just it was so funny.
And I also loved hearing the backstories on what happened to Andrew Garfield after he lost Gwen Stacy. Because that should have carried weight for him, and it did. And I love that they expounded on that. He was like, I stopped pulling my punches, and oh man, he's such a great actor. He's just such a great actor. He sold that.
Andrew Garfield. Sorry, go ahead.
I was saying he sold his part so well, and especially like when he saves Michelle at the end. I felt the redeeming. I felt it. Like I felt it for him.
You did feel it. I think I told you this on the phone, but in my opinion, like out of those three actors, if we're going just based on acting, Andrew Garfield is the best actor, I think, who has played Spider-Man. I'm not saying his Spider-Man is the best.
Yeah.
You know, I have a personal connection to him stronger than the other two, but I'm not going to say he's the best version of Spider-Man, but he's the best actor who has played, because you really felt like, especially I actually loved that scene when he saves Michelle. Like you saw it, like, and did he have a Spider-Man mask on when he saved her?
Yes.
Or no?
I think so.
Because like I felt the emotion in the way that he was running. Like he was just like, I have to save her this time, and he like jumped off, and then I was like, and then I almost cried when he like saved her, because she was like, "Are you okay?" And that wasn't like a funny "Are you okay?" It was like she could tell that there was like a torment in him that had just been like
healed.
That just been like come out of him, and he was just like, yeah, I'm fine. Like that was real. Like that was crazy. So, and you know, it took the best parts of each Spider-Man. Like what you loved about Andrew in the Amazing Spider-Man movies, you got that in this movie. What you loved about Tobey in the original Spider-Man movies, you got that in this movie. Like you got all the best parts. It was crazy because you kind of, you know, I thought like, well, there's probably, you know, if they're in the movie, it's probably not going to, there's probably going to be things people don't like about them. And like, no, it was just like, they were like, I don't know, like they always talked about him and Gwen. And also one of Andrew Garfield's best things is his humor, right? So like, I loved how the first thing he comes in and she's like, "You're not Spider-Man, prove it." And he's like,
he's like on the wall.
And she's like, "That's not enough." And then she throws more bread at him. He's like, "Are you gonna keep throwing bread at me?" Like, and she's like, "Do it." And so like
the grandmother asked him to clean the
cobwebs. It's funny that it was a cobweb too, right? It's like he's Spider-Man getting the cobweb. That was so funny. Man. But yeah, like one of the best things about his was humor. So they gave him a lot of funny lines because it's like, that's what you loved about him. And then one of the great things you love about Tobey Maguire's is his sense of responsibility. He probably has the best sense of responsibility out of any of them. So when he comes in, he's mature. He knows the right things to say. I almost lost it when he stopped Tom Holland from killing him. Like he ran over there and he just like stared him down and like held it. I was like, oh, that's Tobey. That's so like he would totally do that. He would be like, you don't need to do this to yourself. And so he like he almost saves Tom Holland in that way. Like he saves him from making a mistake.
I will say that I
love that part.
I did not as much like the fact that Tom Holland was about to kill him. I didn't like that, but I love the fact that Tobey stopped him. Tobey was the one who had to stop him. I was like, Toby has to be. If it's going to be anybody, it's going to have to be Tobey. It has to be Tobey who stops him.
And what's interesting is like it's what Tobey in that moment, what Tobey had said to him earlier. You know, they had that conversation about like, because Tom was like, "Don't tell me that you guys understand. You don't understand." And then they were like,
Yeah.
"No, we literally
Right.
understand what you're going through." And they explained it, and so everything was reinforced in Tom Holland's brain when Toby stopped him. He was just like, so it made sense to me.
Yeah.
That Tom Holland would be like, "You're right. I don't need to be doing this." Afterwards.
Yeah. Also in connection with like him talking about wanting to cure Green Goblin, and he had been thinking about it for a while, because that, like, if you remember, that was his first villain ever, and it was he showed so much like that was my fault that this even happened like this. That it literally haunted him, because his best friend ended up turning on him as well, because he was
it's felt throughout
involved.
the movies, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's felt throughout the rest of the movies.
Yeah. And so it was, man, the whole movie, the way they played out each scene was just it felt like each character finally got that send off that we really wanted to give them as the fans. And it did so much justice to their franchises in respecting them, not like trying to crap on them and being like, "No, Tom is just better than them. He's just, because he's a new Spider-Man, he's just better than them." And it was just like it was such
it was you, like I said, you got the best of each Spider-Man. Even Tom Holland's, you got the best out of each one of them. Like Tom Holland has that weird kind of like I don't know what kind of humor. It's like anxiety ridden humor that a high schooler would have. So he's like, "That's so cool. Oh my gosh." I mean, he's like Mr. like Spider-Man 1, Spider-Man 2, he's like, like, I love that, like, they brought that into it, but also, like, you got Andrew's humor, and then Toby's just like back there impressed. He's just like, "Wow, like, this is cool," because that's totally something he would do. Did they ever have a pointing scene where they pointed at each other?
Someone said they did. I didn't see it, but
it was there was so much you were looking at when you were doing it. So
there's a part where Ned says Peter, and then they're all like, "What? Huh? Oh, wait, do you mean?" And he's like, "Parker, Spider-Man."
Yeah,
that was kind of funny.
And he was like, "We're all Peter. We're all Peter Parker." Yeah.
I love the there was another part I liked so much. Man, I just forgot it. This, what I really want to say is this movie. When we talk about negatives, and we still probably have nitpick things that we can pick out, like, "Oh, I didn't like that as much," but there's just so much to love about this movie. Like,
there is
to give it anything less than like one of Marvel's best movies ever is to be like to really not appreciate what they really did for the fans. Like, just it wasn't even so much for like, let's make money, or let's make this interweaving connective universe and everything like that. It's like just so much, just like, we appreciate you guys as fans, and we want to show you how much we appreciate you.
Yeah, and it's so hard because, like, I want to say it's hard for me to say whether it's like one of my favorite Spider-Man movies or whether it's not, because I want to judge it from a movie perspective, but it's so hard to do that in this movie because the movie was not made to win Oscars. That's not the point of the movie. The movie is not made to be like, "Look at this cinematic masterpiece." Like, it's not what it's about.
Or let me tell you this deep, enriching story about a kid who goes through trials. It's not about like, it's not really about that.
It's not. It's literally about the whole movie. You're right. The whole movie's about the fans and people that they're being like, "We appreciate you growing up with us and watching these movies with us." And so it's hard for me. I feel like people who watch it from that and are like, "Oh, it wasn't that great." Like, I think the guy sitting next to me didn't really enjoy it because he left pretty quick after the movie. And I knew he was a Marvel fan because he mentioned watching Hawkeye. He was like, because I was surprised when I saw Daredevil, and he was like, "I guess you didn't watch Hawkeye last night." And I was like, "No, I did watch it." I said, I didn't realize I'd see like Daredevil so quick, but I don't know if he really ended up liking it. But I was just like, I feel like people who say they don't like it don't really understand what the movie was about, because it wasn't about is this movie the best movie ever. Like, it's a good movie from a movie perspective, but it's an even greater Marvel movie.
Yeah,
like, it's an even greater MCU movie. But yeah, I will say this. So the only thing that I picked up on, mainly because it was fresh in my mind from when I watched the Tobey Maguire movies, is when Tobey Maguire says, like, "Oh, I've been working on a serum." I don't disagree with you that it's not out of character for him, but you never, in his movies, you never see him working in a lab, and you never see him working with serums.
Yeah.
So that actually felt a little out of place. Just a tiny bit for that fact. I was like, that reminded me, like, Andrew Garfield feels like the, science smart out of all three of them to me.
I don't
He
know. Did you
feels
see
like
Tom
smart.
Holland? He was basically like Jesus in a science lab. He was
Yeah.
figuring out everything like so fast. That was probably one of the things I didn't like. I was like, okay, come on now. He's not the smartest person in the world. He's just
no.
oh, I got this and this and this and this. Oh,
I feel
figured
like
it out. I was like, what?
I agree. I was kind of like, in my opinion, I was like, the only reason he's smart like this is because of Stark Tech. Like that's how I felt.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
That's what I felt from it, because they haven't shown us why he's smart. They show us that he's he made his own. They've said that he's made his own stuff, but when I saw Andrew Garfield in a lab coat, that felt his character, like, because we've seen him in a lab coat in his movies, like we've seen him do lots of science stuff. So that's why I was like, he feels like this who would be the smartest, but like, I obviously people might call me out because I like Andrew Garfield. I like his movies, but I feel like if you rewatch the movies, which I did for the newest Marvel movie, that fits his character a little bit more, but that's not really a bad thing. Like, they're all supposed to be Spider-Man. They're all supposed to be smart.
Yeah.
They all are smart. They all know about science. So it's just like whether they've shown us that or not. But man, those scenes were so good. I think the only thing that could have been better, like that could have raised it up, is if we saw like the universe they went back into. Mm-hmm. So if we would have seen like Toby with MJ.
Yeah.
And we would have seen, Andrew with Emma Stone, or maybe he goes back and Emma Stone's saved because Electro is, because Electro's better. You know what I mean? Like if they would have shown that would have been cool. But there's rumblings now. Well, we'll wait for the rumors. We also are getting short on time, so I'll talk to you about the rumors when we're done talking about the movie. But we're kind of near the end. So what did you think of the ending?
Oh man,
because honestly, we could do a whole video about like because there was the whole tearings in the multiverse in the sky, and
I was hoping we'd see some people we recognized, and I didn't really feel like we did. I saw a couple. I think I saw Odin, maybe.
I saw Rhino.
I didn't see anyone like super like recognizable.
I saw that's him. I saw the mechanized Rhino from Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Yeah,
I saw him.
I think someone pointed that out. I didn't see, but all I saw was Odin, and I was like, okay.
Yeah, we'd probably have to rewatch that scene. Like people are probably we'll find out more about that in a while. But obviously this leads into Doctor Strange really heavily. As the end credit scene did, we got to see like a little trailer of that, which looks awesome, by the way. I'm super excited for that movie. So we could do anyways, what I'm trying to say is we could do a whole another episode about all these, with Ned and the magic, with the multiverse thing. We're not going to do that today, but because we could talk about where this leads as far as that goes into the broader MCU. There's a lot of MCU stuff tied to this movie, I think. But anyways, what did you think?
I will say I didn't think it wasn't as big of a game changer I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to like
that's
be
fair.
like
that's fair.
Kind of like a Flashpoint, but it felt more like a prequel to a Flashpoint. So
maybe
Doctor Strange 2 is going to be the Flashpoint.
That feels like. But what I was telling my wife was like, man, if they did all that in Spider-Man, what do you think they're going to do in Doctor Strange? Which is focused on the multiverse. Like that one is. This one wasn't focused on the multiverse as much, even though it had Andrew and Toby in it. They did not steal the show from the main Spider-Man. Yeah. Like the narrative was still about him and him growing as a Spider-Man. So it wasn't even about the multiverse, I would argue. It was about his storyline and what he's going through. But what did you think of the ending? So the ending, basically, Peter has a tough choice. Doctor Strange is like, all these people from the different universes are going to break through unless I redo the spell. And he was like, and then Doctor Strange was basically like, I don't even know. Again, this is a narrative thing where it's kind of like you don't really explain why he needs to do this, but
or how it's going to fix everything.
How it's going to fix everything, yeah.
Yeah.
But basically, Doctor Strange is like, if I don't do something, they're going to break through. And I can't remember what he said he was going to do. I think he was going to do like a temporary fix, essentially, by making everyone forget, except for those certain people that he was Spider-Man. And then Spider-Man was like, well, what if you just redo the spell, the original spell? What if you just redo the original one where nobody remembers me? And he was like, well, then. And what I thought was great is Doctor Strange kind of has this face like, well, I don't want to forget you. You know, like I don't want to forget who you are and all the great things you've done. Which was cool. To see that. But then he ends up choosing that, which he makes that hard decision. And then later on he almost kind of like is going to try to become friends with Ned and MJ again. Then he gives up and he's just like, I'm not going to do it. So what did you think of the ending?
I appreciated it more after I thought about it. Because when at first I was like, oh, that's kind of dumb. Like, they're his best friends. Why wouldn't you go back and get your best friends? But then I realized this is basically like Marvel hitting the reset button on Spider-Man again, and now like we can open up a new avenue to maybe the real MJ. Maybe I was disappointed that they had already told us that Osborn didn't exist in the universe, or maybe he wasn't maybe he wasn't as big in that universe, in Tom's universe. But maybe we can open doors to those kind of things now because we've let go of Ned and Michelle. I don't know if that's a long-term fix, because I would be very surprised if they took Zendaya out of the movies. But
it's definitely not going to be based around high school anymore, which those three were, right? They were based around him and his high school friends and his high school adventures, you know?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, did you like it? Do you like what they're doing, or are you kind of on the fence?
Yes, I'm really excited. I'm really excited for a new chapter in Spider-Man. We've done the origin story. We've done justice to the previous franchises that were trying to do Spider-Man, but now we have a new open path to do a better Venom movie that needed to be done. And I think that's really what that like needed to happen in Spider-Man 2. Is like Spider-Man 3 should have been just clearing all the obstacles, like all the other villains, out of the way to prepare for Venom. But instead, it was like push Venom into the movie, and it all fell apart. In Sam Raimi's films, at least, and even the guy Avi Arad, who's a major person in all the Spider-Man movies, has even said that he would take blame for it, for pushing Venom into the movies, because they didn't want to do Venom. They didn't want to do Venom originally. Sam Raimi didn't want to do Venom. He was going to focus it more on Peter versus his best friend. That was going to be the focus of the movie. But anyway,
they wanted to sell toys, probably.
Yeah, that's what Ari was convinced of, was that Marvel would sell a lot of toys Sony would sell a lot of toys if they did Venom. But
gotcha.
Yeah, I'm really, really excited for what comes next. I really do hope Tom comes back, but I'm okay if they put another person in it, but don't reboot it. Like, don't reboot it. It's just, this is same Spider-Man. Yeah. He's still Peter Parker. Just don't reboot it.
Man, I think Tom's going to come back. I think that's pretty apparent, in my opinion.
Okay.
I think he's going to come back. You've already heard the studio leak, like studio Spider-Man heads, 4. That there's going to be 3 more Spider-Man movies. And you hear Tom Holland saying he's old, and I'm like, bro, you're 25. Do you know how old do you know how old Andrew and
Toby were
when they did it? They were in their 30s. Like, they were old.
And they came back. They came back for another Spider-Man movie.
Yeah, and so they're I think I'm 90% sure he's going to come back. Maybe 95, in my opinion. He just hasn't. What's scary, and I agree, he hasn't set a contract. Like, his contract's up. He's got, from what I heard, from what I read online, he's got one more appearance in a Marvel movie.
Avengers.
And that's
the
it.
Avengers movie, yeah.
Yeah, and then that's it. So, like, they just haven't renewed his contract. But we had this same scare, like, around Infinity War, because they were like, well, is Spider-Man going to be here still? And it seems like they have a good relationship, the Sony and Marvel do. So I think he's going to be back. However, I could see him maybe only doing 2 more movies. I think 2 to 3, and he's probably going to call it. And I think what they're going to do, I had this thought today, they'll probably bring in Miles Morales
to replace him,
and he'll be the main Spider-Man for a while.
That'd be really smart if they did that. If they did it, that'd be really smart, because that excuses you having to explain away why he looks different. That excuses you having to potentially reboot the series. That excuses you from having to
And he could also be like, hey, I'm gonna retire. And you've had 6 good movies with Peter Parker.
Oh yeah.
I think you're this way too. I'm always gonna be like, I want Peter Parker.
Yeah.
I'm always gonna be that way because he's the OG. He is Spider-Man, and he will always be the Spider-Man who started it all. And to me, he's probably the most interesting character. In some ways, I'm not saying that Miles isn't interesting. I think Spider-Gwen's really interesting, but it's like those are all offshoots of him, right? Like he's the original. So I'm I probably won't like Miles as much, but I love the Miles Morales video game, which is amazing. Also, Into the Spider-Verse was great. That showed you right. That was a proof of concept that a non-Peter Parker could drive a movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? People will come and watch it because it's Miles Morales. So, like, I think they're probably going to do that. But I think Peter will be in for like 2. I think they'll do 2 or 3 more. Yeah. Because in my opinion, they set it up to where now you kind of get to see him live his own life. Like you get to see him grow into a man.
Yeah, no more Stark Tech, no more.
Yeah, no more Stark Tech, no more. No, like he's
Happy Hogan.
I loved
no Avengers.
Yeah, but you didn't lose those. You didn't lose those events, which I love.
Yeah.
You don't lose he's still a part of that, and technically Spider-Man is still a part of the Avengers. They just don't know who he is. Right?
Yeah.
They just don't know it's Peter Parker. So we'll kind of see where it goes.
Did you like the ending?
I did. I loved the ending. It was probably one of my favorite endings. It was just, it had this bittersweet thing going on.
Yeah.
Which I like that a lot.
Which is Spider-Man basically. It's always bittersweet.
And dude, the ending felt just like the Spider-Man video game. How the Spider-Man video game started out. I don't know if you noticed that, but he's in this like tiny 1-room apartment. Like if you remember the Spider-Man video game, like he wakes up and he's like puts his mask on and his mask smells. He's like, oh gosh. And then there's like an empty pizza box. His room's super messy. He's got like some textbooks and stuff he's been working on, like so at the end of it, he's got his GED thing. So he's like, I'm gonna, gonna work on my GED because I'm not gonna enroll in high school again. And he's gonna do Spider-Man full time essentially. And he's poor. He doesn't have any money. He's poor now. Like he's really poor. Like he was already poor with May, but now he's like
really, really poor.
I don't have any money. Yeah. So like he's, so I mean that's gonna be fun. I think that's gonna be fun. I really want to see. And to be honest, I kind of hope they don't bring MJ and Ned back. I'd like to see him with somebody else. Maybe they'll bring Gwen in. Maybe they could bring another. I doubt they bring in a redheaded MJ. My wife's a redhead, by the way, so I'm super biased. But, just full disclosure. I mean, that's why I want a redhead. But because I just it's me and my wife. But I think they could bring Gwen in. They could mix it up a little bit. They might bring Black Cat in. That would be interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, there's lots of possible love interests that they could bring in. That would be fun.
Yeah.
And they can tell some more grown up Spider-Man stories because we've gotten a lot of high school Spider-Man and college Spider-Man, which I like, but they can finally tell some grown up, he's an adult now. These are some of the things that he's facing as an adult. And I think that's one reason why they stuck him in a 1-bedroom apartment with no money, because that's a big thing he's going to face, right? His financial stuff. So
absolutely.
So I think it's good. I was really happy with the ending. Now the post-credit scene, I was happy and unhappy about. I had mixed feelings on it because they baited us, man.
Yeah,
they baited us. They made you think that Tom Hardy was gonna be with Tom Holland. They did not meet once, and also the whole Venom thing felt a little like, because in the end credit scene for Carnage, Venom knows who Spider-Man is. He's like, oh, I know him.
That guy, yeah.
But they never explain how he knows him, which I'm guessing they're gonna do in another movie because the Venom symbiote is left from Eddie Brock when he leaves.
Yeah.
Which it was funny. I thought it was funny seeing Tom Hardy, and he's like, "Who are the Avengers?" Like, he's trying to learn. He's like the Hulk, and then Venom was like, "And you thought Luther Protector was a stupid name?" And, that was funny. So I did like. What did you think of the end credit scene?
It was okay. I wished I didn't. it seemed pointless. I thought they could have had a different way to introduce Venom. Like, I don't think you have to bring Eddie Brock into the universe and then have a small clipping of it stay behind. You can just do the asteroid again. Yeah, he got to have his own asteroid come down and it's filled with goo or whatever. Or I mean, he's been to space already. Maybe in the next Fantastic Four movie, he goes on. They bring back the goo with them. You know, something like that.
Yeah, that's true. There were lots of other ways. I think they did it just to please Sony, probably. They're probably like, oh, we'll bring him in. I was actually hoping for some interaction.
Yeah,
with Tom Hardy.
Tom Hardy. I thought that would be hilarious. I thought they'd be hilarious together.
Yeah, definitely. The more interesting thing, and this is where I think we should talk about this and then move on to Hawkeye because we got to end pretty soon. But the more interesting thing I thought was that, Morbius comes out next month.
Yeah.
And there's been pictures of Spider-Man all over in that movie. And it looks like Tobey Maguire Spider-Man.
Oh.
Like that's what is, if you look at the painting behind him, the mural, it's Tobey Maguire's outfit.
Okay.
So I'm like, are they going to reuse Toby and Andrew possibly and kind of keep this multiverse
to all
thing?
The movies.
Like, are they going to
all the movies?
Like, can you imagine? Like, they might, like, even if it's just for like some small cameos where you see like Spider-Man swinging by or something, or, do you think they'll bring that in? And there's even talk of like, there's rumors, which, this is just fans thinking at this point, but would they actually like have two Spider-Men at the same time, like going on? Like Sony has one and Marvel has one, but they're two different ones because we know why now, right?
Yeah. No, that's fair. I heard someone say that they were looking forward to, this is what I was going to ask you about, but they're looking forward to even like maybe a third Amazing Spider-Man movie.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people have been saying they want that. I saw that. I don't know if that's going to happen. I feel like that's a bit of a stretch.
But if you're talking about separate universes and everything, it could happen. It could very
definitely
easily happen.
It could. And
I'd be totally on board with that. I actually grew in respect for Andrew Garfield for this movie, from this movie more than I did from his two Spider-Man movies.
You kind of realized what you liked about him, right?
Yeah.
And I realized, to be fair, I always dog Toby. I do like Tobey Maguire, but like I had more of a reverence for him in this movie because I watched Spider-Man 1 and 2 beforehand, and I was like, dang, like I like Toby a lot more than I thought I did. You know what I mean? Like, so I could see that. I don't know, man. Like that's kind of what I'm thinking about. I'm like, I'm like, more Spider-Man the better. I love Spider-Man. Also, those universes that they're doing with like, because I don't know if you knew this or not, but they're making a Kraven movie too. They're making Kraven.
Someone said they saw Kraven in the clouds.
Oh, I didn't, but I mean, I'm sure somebody did. But yeah, they're making a Kraven the Hunter movie as
Sony
well.
Is?
Yeah.
Oh.
And they're making I think they're making a couple other villain movies, like villain style or anti-hero movies. Those movies are great, but there's something that they're missing, right? They're missing Spider-Man. They're kind of stale without Spider-Man. Even the Venom movies are. Like the first Venom was okay. I liked it. The second movie I really didn't like that much. But what it's missing, in my opinion, is Spider-Man. It's missing Spider-Man. So maybe they might bring that in. I think the person, in my opinion, if they brought any Spider-Man back, I think someone who would be more than willing to do it is Andrew Garfield.
Andrew, yeah, I agree.
Because he's such a big fan.
I agree with that.
So I think he would do it. Toby, I don't know.
I mean, Marvel doesn't really have a lot of great standalone villains. They just don't. Like, I mean, like in comparison, especially in comparison to DC, like DC has villains that you could literally like do a trilogy on these villains, and no one would bat an eye if the main hero wasn't in there. Like if you do like 3 Joker movies, everyone would love that. If you did like 3 Lex Luthor movies or 3 Doomsday movies, or it's like a lot of villains you could just easily like go, that's a great character you could just talk about for days.
Yeah. What's sad too is like most of their good villains are all Spider-Man villains.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and that's obviously that's why they're making movies, because they're like, well, these villains are good on paper, like maybe they'll do good with their own, but a lot of them are only good when they're with Spider-Man. You know what I mean? Like they're interesting.
Yeah.
Venom is interesting enough to make a lot of money.
Yes.
He makes a decent amount of money for a movie. He didn't with Venom 2 because of the pandemic, but but the first one made quite a bit of money. It did really well. That's why they made a second one. They're probably going to make a third one too.
Yeah.
So I mean, they can sell, but are they great movies? They're okay. Like they can sell tickets. That's about all they can do. But they would be better if they had Spider-Man in them. I feel the same way with Morbius. I'd love to see Morbius and Spider-Man be together personally. Because if you watch, I watched the animated show, the 90s one, and I watched the whole arc of where Morbius is created. Morbius is created partly due to Spider-Man, kind of like Venom. So it's like, and they have a whole interaction together. So Morbius is interesting, but he would be much more interesting if he was with Spider-Man. So I don't know. That's what I think, though. But anyways, anything else to say about
Spider-Man man. If you haven't seen this movie, you should go see it. It's literally worth the money. There's nothing about this movie that I was like, I hate this so much. Like it wasn't like it didn't even feel like your typical DC, like Disney Marvel movie. It felt like so uniquely its own thing.
You could love. Sorry, go ahead. I keep interrupting.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I was like, I'm always coming to a period whenever you stop me.
Oh, okay.
But it so felt like its unique own thing that it was like it was worth whatever you have to pay to go see it, or whatever seating you have to deal with, or whatever. It was just, it felt so uniquely its own thing, wrapped in its own universe. Even with Doctor Strange coming in, even with the Wanda thing at the end, even with Venom, even with all the different Spider-Man, it just felt so like its uniquely own movie. It was worth it.
Yeah, I mean, dude, that movie was so good. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was so good.
It was so good that I'm going to actually buy the DVD for the movie. Like, I'm going to buy the DVD for the movie. That's how good it was.
I was literally like, I can't wait for this movie to come out on DVD. Like, I'm going to buy it, like buy the Steelbook.
Yeah.
With the Blu-ray and the digital and the DVD.
Yeah. But I don't like watching movies more than once, and I'm gonna rewatch this movie probably a dozen times.
What's even crazier is this movie is not just for MCU people.
Exactly.
I know lots of people who liked Andrew Garfield and they don't really watch MCU movies, or they like Tobey Maguire and they're not really caught up with the MCU. They would like this movie just for that fact. Just because those characters are in it. But anyways, we're gonna move on. So go see the movie if you haven't seen it. Before we do, we got one of our Twitch followers asked. They said, "Are we shocked someone might be getting a few movie? I don't know. I think he's saying a new movie after they're acting in No Way Home. So I think he's referring to like, I want to say, I could be wrong. Marcus Devil May Cry. But thank you for your comment. By the way, we appreciate you. I could be wrong in what you're saying, but I think what you're saying is that, are we surprised due to Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield coming in? Andrew, okay. Oh, that Andrew might be getting a new movie after they're acting in No Way Home. I don't know, man. Andrew specifically acted very well. I think it shows what a strong Peter Parker he is. He acted really well. I would be a little surprised, honestly, if they just because this felt very self-contained. That's why I say that. It felt like, I would be surprised if he showed up in another movie because it felt so self-contained. I didn't see a tangent where Andrew was going to be in another movie. It was like, all right, Andrew showed up, had a good hour in the movie. Okay, I'm leaving, back to my universe. But to be honest, Venom and Morbius, I think they would fit in the Amazing Spider-Man universe very well.
Yeah,
they have a very good vibe with that.
Well, it's that Sony polish, that dark Sony polish.
it is that Batman Sony polish.
It's that PlayStation polish. That
nice
dark polish on it.
They make good video games. I'll say that video game was fire. If you can make a movie that's like the Spider-Man video game, more power to you. Like, I'm not even playing. Anyways, we're going to move on to our last order of business. And we're going to make it quick. But Hawkeye, Jonathan, we are both caught up. You were caught up. You saw the last episode.
I did.
We have one more episode. I believe it comes out Christmas Eve, which I'm very eager to watch that episode. What did you thought of the show overall?
It was good. It was exactly what I wanted. I think when we talked about before the show came out, I was saying that I didn't want the show to be too much about the girl, because I really wanted to know more about Hawkeye, because we really haven't got a lot about him. I mean, we know he went to Budapest. We know he likes Nat. He has a family out of nowhere. And he really suffered the most when it came to the blip. Or should I call it the snap? Would you prefer me to call it the snap?
You can. It doesn't matter. I like the snap better, but yeah, it doesn't matter.
But yeah, we don't really know who he is though as a character, and I think the show has really gave us a deep dive into his character.
Yeah,
I actually almost cried when he was talking on the phone with his son. I was like,
oh
man, that is wow. That really shows you the price of being a quote unquote superhero.
Yeah.
Which he later on was saying, like, I don't even consider myself a superhero because I'm just a weapon someone made. It's like,
yeah, that was deep. And what's funny is like, we haven't heard that viewpoint in the MCU to my knowledge.
Yeah.
Like I was like, and so you think everybody kind of enjoys being a superhero and they like it, and then he was just like, man, I'm not like. He was like, I'm just a weapon. Like essentially, I'm a gun. Somebody just points me at someone, and I go and get them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I agree. That scene where she's like writing down what his son is saying.
Yeah.
And man, that his acting was so good in that scene too.
Mm-hmm.
He does really good with little. I've noticed this about him. Jeremy Renner. He does a good job with. He does a good job with acting, but he doesn't do great in like bombastic, dramatic scenes. He does really great with like intense. Like he does great with showing emotion on his face.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like you can I feel like I can watch him go through the 5 stages of grief. Like he just, because in that scene you see his face just like go through so many emotions. You know, he's so happy to see his son, but then he can't hear his son, so he's kind of frustrated, and then he's like sad, and he's just like you know, I'm hoping I'll be home, but I'm not sure, you know, and they're having the marathon tonight. Are you going to be home for it? And man, and I don't know about you, but the whole series, I'm like, man, I just want him to get home.
Yeah.
I want him to get home with his family so bad. Like I feel so much tension every episode. I'm like, man, he's still here. Like, why isn't he home yet?
And then, and especially as the problem continues to grow, you're just like, no, like stop. Like he needs to get home. How is he ever going to go back home with all of this on his plate now?
Yeah.
So
that's kind of how I feel.
Which is why I'm curious why it's only 6 episodes.
Yeah,
it feels like it needs more. It feels like it needs a lot more episodes to kind of flesh out the rest of the story.
I agree. They might, you know, this is what I think. I said this last week. I really think they're going to give it a season 2. It kind of feels like a season 2 type of show. And there's more to explore with his character. Like there's so much more to explore with his character. You know, why did he choose a bow? How did he get in the shield? No, and I would love to see more of Kate Bishop. I'd love to see more of Kate Bishop.
I actually really like her a lot, which is surprising.
I know. Well, new characters are so hit or miss. You know what I mean? Like, but I really do enjoy her character.
Yeah. But I think and I was thinking about this more recently. I think later Marvel, like not early Marvel, when like with the Avengers and everything, but later Marvel has had an issue with writing good female characters. I think that's why I've been like, whenever I see a new female character, I'm like, ugh, I hope this isn't bad. Because they just haven't done a good job of doing it so far.
You mean like ever since like Captain Marvel, basically?
Yeah, Captain Marvel. Even some aspects of WandaVision was like hit and miss.
That's a good point. I forgot about that. Yeah. Because I was trying to think of all the Marvel characters they've introduced, and I'm like, oh, wait, yeah, WandaVision, they had some. I ended up liking, I liked Elena. I did end up liking Elena. More than what I thought. It took some time, but when I was done with Black Widow, I did like her. I didn't like Black Widow's mom as much. In that, I didn't really like. I thought she was okay. But yeah, I would agree with that. But yeah, she's. I love her personality.
Yeah,
I love that they turned it on her head, where she's like a rich white girl, but she's a superhero, but she doesn't feel comfortable in that, right? Like she doesn't. She doesn't like enjoy being that person.
Yeah.
She's just kind of like, yeah, it is what it is. This is how I was born into this. It's kind of frustrating.
And I also love her. Her moral drive very much reminds me of Spider-Man, where she's just like, she's always trying to see the good in people. And
she is.
Even with Yelena, she's like, oh man, good thing I didn't kill you. Like that's her immediate thought was like, oh man, I could have killed you or something like that.
And then she's like, you could have killed me. No, you couldn't.
Yeah. I was laughing at it too, because I was like,
very funny, Kate Bishop.
There's no way you would have killed her.
But there wasn't. Yeah.
I still don't like it when people try to morally grandstand over other people. Like Yelena's talking about how bad how bad he is, and I was just like, girl, you like literally like went around the world killing people. Like, I don't want to hear it from you at all.
Yeah, I agree.
Brainwashed or not, I don't care. Like, come on now, you're an assassin. Like,
yeah.
Anyway,
well, and I like how Hawkeye has this guilt that he's killed so many people, even if at times they were bad people. Like he's still like, you don't just go and do that, Like, and I think he knows that's not a part of who he is. You remember how you said like you felt like Echo really got kind of the better side of him, and then I was like, just wait, like, he'll whoop her butt later, and like he really in this last episode, I felt like it was no contest. Like he was just she got a couple good punches in, and then he was just like,
okay, time to end this. Yeah,
he was like, this is ridiculous, and then he just like, and she was so scared. She's like, what are you doing? And I was like, yes, this is the respect he deserves. Like he's been with the Avengers this long, and he survived. Like he can't be like. He can't be a sleeper. Like you can't sleep on this man. He's gotta have some sort of, power behind him. And so like, I like that they're kind of showing that more and more. I think that honestly, this is probably one of my more favorite Marvel shows.
Yeah.
Because it's just a chill, exciting show. Like, I don't really know how to explain it. The Christmas vibe is great because it gives it this kind of like holiday yet relaxing feel.
Yeah.
I also love that he keeps coming back to that firefighter.
Yeah, Grills.
Yeah, that's so fun. I love Grills. I'm like, I told my wife, I was like, give me a show about Grills. Like, yeah, I want a Grills show. Like,
I will say, I think that what it benefits from is it's not a world bending event. I think that's where Captain America and Winter Soldier kind of failed, was that it was too big. Like there was a whole social, political kind of emphasis around it that kind of pulled you away from the characters. I think
that's a good point. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that.
And Hawkeye's more just like, it's about a dad trying to get back to his kids.
It's like, about him. Yeah, it's like this is just about him. It's about one guy. There's other stuff going on, but it's not as important as the main story.
Yeah. And also I do love how Kate keeps bringing up his image issue. Like whenever someone mentions him, she's like, yeah, he's suffering from an image issue, and she's like trying to show him that like being a superhero is more than just saving lives. It's like you're trying to.
It's also a role model. It's also in some way like a very human aspect of her. Like we want our heroes to be high. Sorry, guys.
Cat cam.
Yeah, I know. Come on, ow! We gotta clip your claws. Okay, sorry. Go away. I love you. Sorry about that.
Your wife should get you for that.
Yeah, she's gonna be like, oh, like she doesn't even watch our videos, and she's gonna be like, oh, Ava was in this one. I gotta find it. Like, anyways, that's our cat Ava, by the way. So, anyways, what I was saying is like that's a very like human aspect of her, because I feel like in some way she's also trying to build him up in her mind.
Yeah.
Like she's like, no, you don't understand. Like, this is how cool you are. Like, you can be this cool. Yeah. And he's like, no. I don't want to be that. Like, I just, But she does have a point in the sense of like, people have always, I love that they're addressing it, because people have always thought that about Hawkeye. You know what I mean? Like, why would he be my favorite like person? So I'd rather be Iron Man, or I'd rather be Thor. I'd rather be like one of these
Captain America. Yeah,
Captain America. Like he's not even that much better than Hawkeye if you think about it. He's just like, he's got the super soldier share.
He's like Hawkeye's on steroids, basically.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, why would I want to be this human who's like okay with a bow? And I think this show like shows like why his character has always been so interesting. And I really, really hope I really want to say like 100% sure they're going to have a season 2. It feels like it's building to that, but I don't know if it is. I really hope it is. I really hope it's building to a season 2.
I mean, it could be like he retires at the end of the season, and then next season's about Kate.
I don't want him. He's not going to retire. He's going to be well, the reason he's not going to retire is he's going to be in Moon Knight.
Okay.
Remember we saw the trailer and he was in the trailer? I don't know. Remember we both were like, is that Hawkeye?
Remember.
That's okay.
I don't remember.
He's in the trailer for that. So we know he's going to continue, even if that's like a flashback or something. But I would like a second season that's more focused on Kate, with him being a contact.
Mm-hmm.
That would be, where we still get some background of him, because I think they work well together. This season is obviously a little more focused on him. but it doesn't, in my opinion, it doesn't really feel like they both feel like the stars of the show. It doesn't really feel like it's like one or the other. It's they're very much focusing on both of them equally. And I'd love to see some more time with them together. I think 6 episodes is too short. Like if they did another episode, give us a 10 episode arc. That would be better.
Yeah, that's easy.
But anyways,
can I say I love the action scenes with Kate. I think they do them so well because they don't just give her superpowers that have superpowers, right? Like she's not like this kick-ass, like she's not like just beating everybody up because she's just so much better than everybody else. Like you can see she struggles. Like even though she's a black belt, she struggles because she's never been in a real fight before.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And I love that about her character. That's why I love Kate Bishop so much, because they actually do her justice by showing her like not being able to do things that Hawkeye can do. You know, she's not as good as him. She's really good with her bow. She's really, really good with that. But like when it comes to like the fight situations, she often gets beat up because she's just not used to real combat. Yeah,
I also love how I love how the stakes were raised.
Yeah.
In the episode before the last episode, where Clint's kind of kept her around because he's like, I obviously can't like tell her to stop. She's just not.
Yeah.
But then like as soon as Elena came in and he was like, she's a Black Widow, he was like, you're leaving. Like you're not staying here. I'm not endangering you. He's like, this has gotten really serious. You're leaving. Like
I think it was her falling because that was basically very reminiscent of Black Widow. And I was like, wow, that was a very good touch. That was a very good touch on his story because I'm sure he blames himself for her death. I'm positive
I mean, you kind of feel that when I think in the last episode when he goes and talks to her grave essentially in the monument, and he's just like, I need you to forgive me for what I'm about to do. I thought he was going to go kill Echo, but he didn't. I thought he was going to. But anyways, the real reason I want to talk about the show is because you like Daredevil, I like Daredevil. What did you think of Kingpin at the end of that last episode, man? What did you think when you saw it? Were you just kind of like, okay, or were you like actually kind of surprised?
Well, you had already told me, or I had already found out through some other source, so I wasn't super shocked. I was like, oh, Kingpin. Oh, okay, cool. I think I had like accidentally seen it on like a YouTube scroll through.
Okay. No, I remember telling you there were
Easter eggs for No Way Home. Someone mentioned it.
I
was like, oh, okay, that's gonna be cool. But they didn't mention the capacity he was going to be in it. So I was like, is it like literally just this still shot, or is it going to be more? So
well, that kind of sucks because the thing is, this came out before No Way Home, right? So I was like, Kingpin, like, let's go. I was like, yes, he's in the show, and I was like so excited, and that made me even think more like, I wonder if Spider-Man like No Way Home is going to have Daredevil in it. That made me think that those rumors were even more true. And then he showed up, and I was just like, oh yes.
But this is why I can't see this like being the last. Like it's like that's why I don't understand why this is the last episode. Like you just introduced one of the major villains in like MCU history. Kingpin is one of the biggest villains ever, and like you're gonna just give an episode to explain his involvement in this entire series. Like how are you gonna do that?
Echo, man, the show Echo. You keep forgetting Echo's gonna have her own show.
But I don't want her to explain Kingpin. I want Hawkeye to explain Kingpin. Like,
well, okay, this is what I think is gonna happen. This is what I think. So what you're saying is you'd rather have him and Hawkeye than him and Echo.
Yeah,
is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
that's fair.
I don't really
like
fair. Echo. I'm be honest. I don't really like Echo. I don't like
She's
her character. Okay. I don't like her powers really.
I don't really feel like I know her very well, so that's why I'm kind of like, I thought the ending of the last episode for me made me more interested in her, where she found out that somebody may have, like her friend may have plotted
to kill
against
her
dad. So that made me kind of be like, oh, that's interesting. I kind of want to know a little bit more about that. But you know, I don't know. She's okay. I'll give her. I'm worth giving her some more time. I think I could grow to like her. They definitely, in my opinion, if you guys go back and watch my Eternals review, I really didn't like how they handled the sign language in Eternals. I think they handle it much better here. The pacing, like, because what my argument for people who haven't watched the Eternals review, I didn't like the way they handled the sign language, because I felt like whenever they went to that, it felt really slow, and the pacing it just kind of slowed down for me. But whenever I watch the Hawkeye show, it really felt like, okay, this is like, because one, there's somebody kind of talking what she's signing, and it just felt smoother, and it felt like the conversations they were having were a little bit better. I don't know why. It just, for me, it felt like the pacing was better. It didn't slow down. There was like one part, I think, in the last episode that felt a little slow, but because that's a part of her character. So I think they have to figure out how to do that on screen to where the pacing's fine and it's keeping up. And I think they're doing a good job in Hawkeye. But what are your expectations for the finale?
I don't know. I really wish we got a little more time with his family, but
that's why that's another reason why I want a second season, by the way.
I'm hoping they tie a bow on this very cleanly. It has to be a clean tie because there is just too much on the table for him to just suddenly walk away. Unless you're doing a cliffhanger. If you're going to do a cliffhanger, then I can understand it. Mm-hmm. But it just doesn't seem like all this is going to be able to be resolved in an episode. So
that's what it feels like for me too.
I just really want him to get home to his kids. I don't know, man. I really want him to get home to his kids.
I do too, man. I feel that. I think it's because we're married now. So like, we're like, no, you got to get home, bro.
Yeah.
But can I just say one of my favorite things about the show is how much of a pillar his wife is.
Oh, man.
I freaking love his wife. Every time he calls, she's just like, I understand. You got to do what you got to do. You got to and I'm just like, yes. Like, we're not getting some. Let's be honest, though. You know how many times we've gotten like a whiny person who's just like, well, I don't like you doing this. It's too dangerous and stuff. It's
you
like
need to come home now.
She understands why he has to do this. She believes in him. She trusts him. She knows how important. She knows that he's not going to be out there if it wasn't important. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And she understands who he is. And so I'm just like, that's such a great thing about.
We finally get a healthy relationship. Yeah. And it's you can tell it's built on trust and communication because he always explains everything to her. Like he doesn't
hide anything.
I got a thing to do. Go do. Yeah. He's like in detail explaining to her what's going on, and then she even at one point she says something in Russian or something like that, because she's learned so much from being around him and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
I love how involved she is in that part of his life, and she doesn't fear for him all the time. I think like any kind of relationship, there's probably some sort of underlying fear of, well, I want him to come back home, as there would be. But she has rode with him so long. She's just like, I know you're going to come home. I know you're going to be
just
here.
Do what you got to do.
Yeah, do what you got to do. It's okay.
Man, his wife is a great part of this show. I just realized that was a really good point. Every time he calls her, it's just I'm like, oh, I'm kind of like I'm like nervous for him. I'm like, oh man, she's gonna be so upset. She's gonna be so upset. And every time she's just like, okay, how much longer do you need? It's okay if you can't make it. We understand. We just want you.
She said that from the first episode. Yeah. She was like, if you can't make it for Christmas, it's okay. And he was like, I'm gonna make it. He was like, I'm gonna be there. And so that's why I just want him to get home. I'm like, he has such a great family. He needs to get home to his wife, man, and his kids. And
they play it so well. You could see that they're disappointed, but they understand. It's not like they're just like, I hate my dad. They're like, man, we get it. If you can't be here, but we want you to be here, but we get it if you can't. And he's just like, no, man, I gotta be there for you guys. Oh.
Yeah. I think it's real life in the sense of you understand, that people understand that you can't make it.
Yeah.
But there shouldn't even be the option of them understanding, right? You should just be there.
Yeah.
And he carries that a lot. He's like, I should just be there. I shouldn't have to make them understand why I'm gone. I should just be there because they're more important to me. And you really get that feeling throughout the show. But anyways, my expectations for the finale are, I think we're definitely gonna get some Kingpin screen time. That's pretty obvious. They're not gonna just drop that and be like, well, here's the finale. He's gonna either come at the end and have some sort of scene, or they may start the episode with how he got there. The only thing that's up in the air Daredevil wise is if they're going to continue the story from where Daredevil left off. Mm-hmm. So are they leaving those in there, or are they just keeping the characters and the actors? I'm fine with either way, because I want them, to be honest, what I want is I want them to keep the show and say the show is canon. I want them to do that because the show is so good. People are missing out if they don't watch the show, in my opinion. But if they're like, we're just keeping the actors, that's really all I wanted at the end of the day, was like they both played those roles so well. I'm okay with that. So maybe he'll mention something from the show, he might not. I am expecting Clint to get home for Christmas. I think he will get home for Christmas. I can't tell you how, though. I don't know. I don't know how he's going to get home. But I think he's going to get home in time. I'm wondering if he's going to have to move his family, because he talked to his wife about that in the last episode.
Mm-hmm.
Something about like how, he was like it's never far away enough or something.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if he's going to move them again, which I would hate for them to do that, but I could that adds some gravity to the situation. I think there's obviously going to be, I think that loose end about her father is not going to be tied up. I think we're going to get a little bit more information about Echo's father, but then I think it's going to lead into her own series. And in my opinion, I think Daredevil and Wilson Fisk will be in Echo.
Ooh, okay. Bold call.
I think that's what's going to happen. I mean, her character's tied around those characters, and we already know that they are in the MCU. So why wouldn't they use them in that show? And that show is far enough away to where they have time to film it still and everything. Like, it's been announced, they just haven't filmed it yet. So I mean, I feel like that's coming. However, you know what I want though, right? I want a Daredevil show. I want an Echo show. I want a Daredevil show. Give me Daredevil. Give me a show around his character.
Did you want to rate Spider-Man real quick before we sign off? In here.
Yeah, but you didn't tell me what you thought for the finale fully.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, I'm optimistic. Let's just say that for the finale.
I am too. The show's it was a slow start, the first episode and a half.
Yeah.
But seriously, if you haven't watched past the first episode or second episode, anybody, just continue watching it. It gets much better.
It does. It does.
And then the episodes go so quick. I'm like, why is it over with? Like, I need more episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Spider-Man: Far From Home. Where are you gonna rank it at?
I'm gonna go 9.5.
Wait, you ranking it like out of 10, or are you ranking it like Marvel movies?
Well, you can rank it however you would like to. I'm gonna go 9.5 out of 10. I'm gonna go Cobwebs. 9.5 out of 10 Cobwebs.
9.5 out of 10 Cobwebs. That's pretty good. Man, I don't know. I have such a hard time ranking this movie because I want to. Okay, so this is what I'd say. I'm going to give you two rankings. One as purely a movie basis, like purely movie, like how good is this movie? And you might be a little shocked. I'm going to give it a 7.5, 8 for the movie, because the plot, there's a lot of plot stuff in it.
Yeah.
Is it still an enjoyable movie? Of course. It's still a fun movie. It's a great movie. As a Marvel movie and as a fan, man, I'm probably up there with you, man. It's like a 9, 9.5. And I could rewatch that movie multiple times. It has a very high rewatchability rate. For so many reasons. If not for the villains, rewatch it for Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. If not for that, rewatch it for the adventure Tom Holland goes through. Like, if not for that, like, rewatch it for Doctor Strange. Like, if not for that, rewatch it for
dude, that Doctor Strange Spider-Man fight was so cool.
Oh, it was, especially really when he thought on his feet, when he was like, just like you said, just like the comics, where he's like, he's like, oh, it's geometry. I can do geometry. And then he was like, whoop. And then he's like, I got you. And I was like, oh, that was so slick.
Especially when he pushed him out of his body and he's like, his fire senses are still going off. So he's like, I was like, yeah.
People are wondering if that's tied to the multiverse. Like, because Doctor Strange is like, that's not possible. Like, that shouldn't happen. And he kind of makes it a point to say that that's not possible. You know what I mean? So I don't know, man. Crazy stuff. But I would rank it like that. I have to give it 2 because I have such a hard time ranking it otherwise. You know what I mean? And I can't combine those scores. I'm not going to do that because it just depends how you're watching it. If you're not an MCU fan, then you're probably, you're there for probably Toby and Andrew, and you're going to enjoy it on that part. However, it's Tom Holland. So if you don't like Tom Holland Spider-Man, you're probably not going to enjoy the movie a whole lot. Like you're going to like it a lot, and you're probably going to buy it. But is it going to be like a 9 or a 9.5? I'm guessing probably not. You know what I mean? But if you're an MCU fan, it's going to be like way up there.
Yeah.
So, I think that's just how it is. But that's what I think. It's pretty high on the list. So anyways, I think we're gonna call it good. I was gonna bring one more thing up, but I can't remember what it was, so it's fine. But I hope everyone has a very Merry Christmas, and thanks for all the comments today. We got a lot of comments. Super excited about that. Thank you all for watching today. We'll be back. We're gonna be back next week, or are we taking a break?
We can talk about it. I would be fine with being back next week.
Okay, I think we can probably do that. I mean, but I'm fine with that unless something comes up. But so as far as we know, guys, we'll be back next Tuesday like usual, at some point during the day. So we usually live stream, and you can catch us. Remember, you can catch us on Twitch, you can catch us on YouTube, you can catch us on Facebook Live, and they're all at Just Visiting WJE. Our Instagram though does have an underscore. I forgot about that. So at Just Visiting _WJE.
We are on the march to 1,000. So guys, tell your friends. So let's tell them.
Isn't it like March to 100?
I guess we can march to 100, but I'm shooting for the moon, so I can land among the stars.
That's true. You are a star. Just know that. It's all right. All right. Well, you guys, leave us down in the comments what you thought about your thoughts about the movie too.
Yes.
Let us know what you thought, because one reason we love talking about this stuff is because we like to know what everybody thinks. We love to. That's another reason we wanted to do this podcast, was to keep an open conversation going. Just about anything, about movies and TV, and games and the arts, the anything. I mean, politics, culture in general, food. So anything you guys want to talk about, that's what this show is created for, just to have an open dialogue. So, but anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. This was Just Visiting. Have a Merry Christmas. This is our last Christmas episode, number 11. So thank you everybody for watching again. And we are going to sign off. Jonathan, you got anything else to say before we go?
No, sir. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. And
it's not Happy Holidays. It's Merry Christmas, guys. Okay. Just one last controversial statement.
Jonathan's full of controversy, if you guys have not watched any of the other episodes. So anyways, but it was a fun ride. So we will see you next week on Just Visiting. Bye-bye.